From the mixed martial arts community, this is the Centrist. And I also have Polish Christian Bale with us here today. And we're talking about the Prestige.
Ta-da!
Why are we talking about the Prestige? Well, that's because we had a discussion about Christian Bale movies. And this one just happens to be my favorite. I have not seen all Christian Bale movies. Maybe there's some other Christian Bale movies out there that I might like more than this, but this is the one that I like most that he starred in.
Rightly so, I would say. Rightly so, fine sir.
And this Wikipedia calls this movie a psychological thriller. I think it's way more than that. It's a period movie. It takes place in the turn of the century. I think 1899. There's some sci-fi elements in there. There's some crazy twists and turns. It's a revenge movie. There's so many different little plots in there and genre bending that they do with this particular film. But I have to say, before yesterday, I had actually only seen this movie once. And this is the movie that you have to see at least twice to grasp it fully. That's because of the way that the movie jumps forward and backwards in time. And then once you've watched it, there's some scenes that make a lot more sense that did not previously. And we'll go over those scenes too, but this is a movie you definitely have to see at least twice to kind of fully grasp what's going on because of the way the story is told. And Christopher Nolan does that weird stuff with his stories where he likes to go back and forth in time, chop up pieces, and foreshadow in some weird ways that you might not pick up the first time. But let's start out by describing what the movie is, or at least going through the plot. I know in the beginning it's a court scene, and it's weird because this court scene is at the beginning of the movie, it's at the end of the movie, it's in the middle of the movie. So this is how Christopher Nolan is just showing the different pieces of this movie from different time points in the movie. But the very first scene, it is Cutter, played by Michael Caine. And he is what is called, I think, an Imagineer, which is the guy who builds all the cool magician gadgets and sets and stuff like that. So he helps engineer the tricks. He's kind of the brain behind all of the magic tricks, while the magician is the one who performs them in front of a crowd. The one that has charisma, the one that is basically an actor trying to wow the audience.
I would like to say that he's sort of kind of like Steve Wozniak to our Steve Jobs.
Yeah, I kind of like that. Like he's
I think so.
definitely behind the scenes, but he's responsible for a lot of the magical tricks and the illusions, the gadgets, and everything. Kind of like Alfred. If Christian Bale is Batman, Michael Caine would also be Alfred in this movie.
Agree. Yeah. Yeah.
So Alfred, or Cutter, is what his name is in the movie. He's a witness on trial, and the very opening of the movie, the trial is of Bowden, which is Christian Bale's character, who is a magician. He is put on trial for the death of another magician named Angier, who is the great Danton.
Exactly.
So it opens up at this trial scene, and Michael Caine is just trying to explain what a prestige actually is. So he tells the jury there's three parts of a magic act. The first part is the pledge. I don't remember what the second part is, but kind of the
Mhm.
climax called the prestige, which I don't know. You could call. I like the name. I don't know if that's a real term in the magic world, but I don't know. The prestige. It's like what you would call, coming, ejaculation. That's the prestige, or
Exactly. Yeah,
or
the
it
second part.
could be
Second.
something like a taint. So like
Mhm.
it could also be some weird body part called the prestige. Well, no, they're doing this trial, and then after that scene, they cut back kind of to a magic act where there's a older magician on stage, and it's kind of showing the origin of how these two meet, these two rival magicians,
Mhm.
and they meet as shills for magicians. So what a shill um, is somebody who's a paid audience member to basically they already know everything about the act and they are actually work for the magician, but they are paid. Yeah, they're the volunteers that are picked out from the audience to help with the trick in order to kind of keep the secrecy behind the trick, because if you invite a random person from the audience, they might be able to figure out how the trick is performed. So instead of doing that, they hire people that are actually part of the show, and instead they sit in the audience and they wait for the to be volunteered, and they go up there and assist with the actual performance.
Exactly. Yeah. Mhm.
So as the story goes along, these two are very ambitious. They both want to be their own magicians. I would say they do come from two different types of backgrounds as well, if you've noticed. Did you notice like
Mhm.
their social economic background between the two?
Yeah. 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 I mean, and it means a lot later on, I think, because Christian Bale is always this kind of underdog because of
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the main ideas, one of the big themes of this movie is the idea of sacrifice. So, uh, Christian Bale's character, Borden, doesn't believe that Angiers, who is played by Hugh Jackman, is not sufficiently sacrificing for the craft of magic. So he believes
Mhm.
that he's kind of like a poser. He's not putting his all into it, and he's not a diehard magician like Christian Bale.
Agree. Yeah.
So there is this act, the point that kind of kicks off this whole movie and the whole two arcs of these two characters is a specific performance in which they were working together. They Angiers is wife to one of the magician's assistants. That's his wife, and they have a conversation about which types of knots are to be used to perform one of Houdini's escapes, and it's an underwater escape from a locked tank. So Angiers tells Bowden, because Bowden wants to use a specific knot because it's sturdier. It'll lift her up without her slipping through and perhaps falling on the stage and injuring herself. But
Mhm.
Angier said, that knot is too dangerous and too difficult to escape. And then the magician, who hires both of them, also agrees. He says, yes, it's too dangerous because the water causes the rope to expand, and she may not be able to escape with that particular knot. But after that, they go and they start the water escape act. Borden uses the knot that he was told not to use, and then what happens next is the turn for the movie. So they perform the trick, and she gets dropped in the water. Tank gets locked.
Mm-hmm.
It's one weird thing about the movie, because the first time I watched the movie, I was like, that was way too, she drowned way too quick. Because I went and tested this myself. I said, all right, what I'm going to do is as soon as she gets dropped in, I'm going to hold my breath until they break the glass and she is free. And that wasn't hard at all. Like, literally, like maybe a minute that she appears to be underwater on screen. But on the second view, something I found out that I didn't notice before. Cutter, who's kind of in charge of the safety for the act, he has a timepiece that's set to a minute. So I didn't notice this before, but when she drops in, he sets the timer, he looks at it, and it starts. And they do a lot of cuts. And then when they cut back to Cutter on his timepiece, when he runs out to go smash the glass, because she's taking way too long to escape, the timepiece is already past a minute. So it did a hard cut. Like, I didn't notice that before. So when he starts smashing on the glass, it's supposed to be a minute after she's been in.
Yeah, and please remember that this girl is ridiculously skinny, and that might be a problem also.
Yeah, so they're smashing the glass, she's drowning, and they're not able to revive her. This presents a problem, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So their act gets shut down. They perform a funeral. At the funeral, Angiers asks Borden, played by Christian Bale, what type of knot that he had used for that particular act. And Borden says, I don't know. And I don't know if it's weird because, give 1 second, I just got a cough. All right. There's like this weird, because I'm going to spoil the hell out of the movie right now because
we have to do that. You cannot talk about all this stuff without spoilers.
Yeah, I'm going to spoil it right now because this is something that you don't know coming into the beginning of the movie, but once you get to the end, it's totally revealed. So it's asked of Borden, and he did not know which knot it was. But the problem I have here after, seeing this movie more than once is which Borden is he talking to?
Exactly. But, the point is that do we consider this stuff a problem, or isn't it just a genius aspect of this movie?
Of both. Like, I don't, the thing is, we're left, even though he states that he doesn't know which knot it was, we also don't know if that's true because there are two Bordens.
Yeah, and but this is where I think this Christian Bale, this original Christian Bale, is kind of a genius guy, because I always have WTF moment with the scene, because he really believes in what he says. He really believes that when he says, I have no fucking idea which knot it was, he really believes that.
Well, I don't know if he believes that, or the one that he's talking to wasn't the one who performed the trick.
Another question is, was it only one Borden talking about this stuff?
We don't know.
Exactly. Maybe there were two Bordens just figuring out this thing, and they never found the right version between themselves.
Well, I think what's alluded at the end of the movie is that they were constantly switching places. So they were both Fallon,
yeah.
They were both Borden. So at that point in the movie, if you haven't seen it more than once, then you would find that performance odd, considering we saw him perform the knot that he was not supposed to use.
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes back and he says he doesn't know. But this, when he says he doesn't know, upon watching the movie once and him saying that, and you're watching it twice, then it's a possibility that he was not the actual one who tied the knot. So he doesn't know
Yeah,
which knot it actually was.
I think so. Yeah.
It's also possible that he knows which knot he ties, but he just never wants to tell which one he did. Especially since in his diary that Angier steals, he says that he didn't tie the knot too, but he's aware that Angier is reading his diary.
Yes, but who wrote the diary though? Because there's two Bordens.
They both did.
Okay. Yes, all right. They probably
You don't know that. You don't know that both of those guys had the idea of.
No, that's true. That's true. It's just that they did everything else together.
I have this feeling that for the good sake of the movie, like I said, I love the scene when he says, Christian Bale says, I do not remember which knot it was, and I think that it's ridiculously honest, because when you watch this movie, you want this guy to be clear about that. You don't want him to be an evil guy that first of all does something ridiculously stupid and then he just lies about that.
I'm gonna be honest. Like this scene kind of set the tone for who I was gonna root for.
Mm-hmm.
Who did it make you root for?
Well, at that point, it made me root for Angiers.
Oh, okay.
Because it seemed like he wasn't taking responsibility for his wife's death. So I was like, Jesus, the balls on this guy.
And it could, in that sense, it could be easy to root for him until like basically almost the end of the movie.
Yeah, but I'm like a evil asshole, so I really I really was sad when what's his name, his disguise, his what was it, Lord
Caldlow?
Codlow, there you go. I was like, man, I kind of wanted Angiers to survive because he went through a bunch of shit anyway. Like, I think the other thing that they show in the movie, like Angiers doesn't have like the greatest relationships with people. He doesn't have a family. He's not married, and he's completely envious of Borden's life. Like he's like, after all this, Borden gets a wife and kid, and he has a home,
also a mistress,
and a mistress too. Yeah, so
plus she's Scarlett Johansson.
She's totally overrated.
Yeah, well, she's decent with action stuff, but
yeah.
I like her as Black Widow the most.
Yes, I'll agree. So anyway, this is the point in the movie that kind of set me up for who I was going to root for, and in this case, I actually rooted for Angiers for the whole movie, even though he killed his clones. But the whole thing was about sacrifice, but we'll get back to that because that's a big point at the end of the movie. So anyway, this moment in the movie kind of starts a war between these two magicians. There's this trick that Borden comes up with called the transported man, and Angiers is obsessed with finding out how he does it. Everybody tells Angiers that he's using a double, but Angiers just won't believe it. And he goes down this crazy path to figure out the smoke and mirrors behind this trick. But one of the interesting things about this obsession is that he sacrificed pretty much everything over finding out this trick, which actually had a pretty simple answer to it.
Both Borden and Angiers literally sacrificed their entire lives for one magic trick.
Yeah, they did. I guess one did it in a antisocial way and the other in a more pro-social, even though I don't know, it's super weird. But anyway, progressing on, Angiers hires Scarlett Johansson, her name in the movie is Olivia, as his new assistant, and they begin a romantic relationship. But being obsessed as Angiers is, he still wants to figure out how this transported man trick is happening. And at the same time, Angiers has crafted his own version of the trick, which is, it's identical, but because Angiers has access to more funding, he's able to make it a little bit more elaborate with the whole stagecraft and the engineering. As you have to remember that Angiers is able to hire people. Not so much when it comes to Anders, because he doesn't come from a rich family like Angiers does. One other thing is Borden is pretty much a poor performer. He's not very good with the audience. They're pretty much bored with all of his tricks except for, maybe the last one. So they're competing. Angiers gets this new trick from Cutter, and this new trick it's a variation on one of the first tricks they show in the movie, which is making a bird disappear from a cage. One of the things that Angiers has trouble with is with sacrifice. He doesn't want to hurt any animals, and we saw in the first performance of this trick, every time you're doing it, you're basically killing a bird. And he was very, very uncomfortable with that. And even Cutter says, you sometimes you have to get your hands dirty when you're doing these tricks. So Cutter actually creates a device that does not kill the bird. It actually keeps the bird safe. So they're able to do the vanishing bird trick without killing the bird. And it actually looks like a phenomenal trick because he brings people up to the stage instead of draping a curtain over the box and making it vanish. He makes it vanish before everyone's very eyes. But it's done using like this crazy engineered vest thing that he wears. So he starts to get an audience with this trick. And of course, the magicians are always spying on each other. Like constantly throughout the whole movie, they're spying and they're spying. But right before this one, I think I'm getting ahead of myself, aren't I? Yeah, I am getting ahead of myself because there's one pivotal moment before this that happens where Angiers spies on Borden, and Borden is performing a trick that is said to be pretty dangerous, which is a bullet catch, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So his wife is like, very hesitant of him doing this, and he actually performs the trick in front of her to show her how harmless it is if the person that you're performing this was a trusted person, of course. So it's just removing the bullet from the gun before it's fired, so you're firing a blank.
With the ramrod, right?
Yeah, the ramrod has a magnet that pulls the bullet out.
Yeah.
All right, so he's performing this trick. All of Borden's tricks suck except for this one. Like, his audience pretty much hates him, except, like, in all of his performance, it seems like He's performing like these really boring tricks that nobody cares about, and they only care about like the prestige part of the performance. So
Yeah.
he's performing the bullet catch, and disguised in the audience is Angiers. The weird thing is, Angiers is selected by Fallon, and I'm really surprised that Fallon didn't recognize him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like after you watch the movie a few times, though, it seems impossible that Angier never recognizes Fallon either, and neither does Olivia, and neither does Borden's wife.
Yeah, they're always not recognizing each other, but in this case, so what happens is for the bullet catch, Angiers puts a bullet in the gun before he's gonna fire. Borden realizes that it's Angiers, and he's like, "Holy shit!"
Yep. Because he blames him for his wife's death.
Yeah, and then Fallon recognizes, I guess, the expression on his brother's face, and he's like, "Oh shit, who's the person he gave the gun to?" And he kind of realizes who it is. At the last moment, Fallon deflects the shot away from Angier's chest, or Borden's chest, and he ends up shooting him in the hand.
Yep.
And he severs 2 fingers in the process. Well, that must be a pretty hardcore bullet.
Yeah.
But so this significantly damages his ability to perform magic.
Yeah.
So getting back to the whole performance of the Vanishing Bird, we have another revenge plot here. And this one is pretty insidious. Because the reason I thought Angiers, or I thought Borden was pretty asshole-ish in this is that he injured innocent bystanders.
Yeah.
Because I think what happened is Borden goes up as a volunteer to be one of the people to check the vanishing cage.
Yeah.
They realize it's Borden, and he sabotages the trap. So what happens is this lady's hand gets caught in the cage when it retracts, and it breaks her fingers, and they're all mangled. Kills the bird as well, I believe, and then there's just like blood everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's when we get into the romance with Scarlett Johansson and him trying to perform his own version of the transported man. So the transported man trick, the initial trick, and what you see 2 doorways. You see Christian Bale enter one doorway. He bounces a ball to the second doorway. He opens it and he catches it as if he had magically transported from one location to the other. So once this trick is established, they're pretty much trying to outperform each other with this one trick throughout the whole movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
So later, Angiers doesn't discover how he basically discovers how Borden does it, but he doesn't know that he actually discovered it.
Yeah.
So he's having an argument with Cutter, saying, "No, it's not simply a double. It's something else. It can't be a double." And then Cutter just says, "Well, you know what? Let's try performing that trick with a double, but we'll do it a little bit differently." So they find this drunk actor, which is basically Hugh Jackman with a different haircut. Yeah. And they hire him as the double. they become extremely successful in performing this trick. Of course, Borden catches wind, but even then, he's not convinced. Angiers is not convinced that he knows the secret of the trick, even though he's basically mastered the secret of the trick at that point. So he sends his mistress, Olivia, over to spy on Borden. And she goes over, she tells Borden the whole truth. And the actual truth is that she's not spying on Borden anymore. She's actually with Borden because she can't believe that he is so obsessed that he would just send her to do like some stupid dirty work for him. So what happens later? Borden finds out who the double is with Olivia's help. She finds Angier's double, and he sabotages the relationship between Angiers and his double by telling him how much power he has. So he starts flexing this power, even though he's really up to no good. So he flexes this power. He starts fucking up the performance. And this is really pissing off Angiers. And at this point, Angiers is basically, he's like, okay, we're going to perform this trick until Borden comes along and performs it, because Borden actually hired a theater across the street, and he was going to do his version of the Transported Man. So they're different versions of the Transported Man, and he knew, okay, Root, which is the double, he was not going to last. So anyway, Borden, one night they're performing the trick, and this is pretty fucked up too, but Borden removes the safety catch for the trick. So Angiers has nothing to fall on. He breaks his leg.
Really severely too, because he has to use a cane after that. Uh-oh. I think Dusty got kicked off there. You still there, Polish Christian Bale? Okay.
Excuse me. Also, I had some technical problems.
Oh, okay.
I'm back.
Okay. I think Dusty just got kicked off there. Did you get what he was just talking about there?
He was
Hakuna
still talking.
Oh, there you go, Dusty. He got kicked out.
Sorry about that. Oh, you can tell the story there. I don't have to tell the whole story all the time. Go ahead.
You were talking about how Borden removed the safety catch for Andrew's Transported Man, so he fell and severely broke his leg, right?
Yes, and he hogtied Root. And he put a sign on him, and he advertises his new show. So Angiers is humiliated to the extreme.
Yeah.
And that basically shuts down his act for a while.
Yeah. And that's is that the time when they when Cutter helps Angier kidnap Fallon when Angier is following Borden and Fallon is following Angier, and Angier leads Fallon into an alleyway, and then he goes up some false stairs that Fallon falls through. So then they kidnap Fallon so that Angier can hold him hostage, so that Borden will give him the secret to his Transported Man.
Yeah, at this point, Olivia is still a double agent, So Olivia takes a fake journal to Angier's. Angier's cannot read this fake journal because he doesn't know the cipher or the code word that unlocks it.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole kidnapping ploy is ordered to get the password for this journal, which is a fake journal. It's like all this shit they go through just to like subvert each other.
Yeah.
So they negotiate. He's given the password, which is Tesla.
Yep.
And he's given Fountain back, who's buried in a grave. So he has to go bury and shovel him out.
And he's supposed to tell Angier like the whole thing, including the prestige and how he does the transported man, but he just gives him this cipher. But he says that he wants his method, but he says that the cipher is the method, and that's what sends him to Tesla, right?
Yeah, so it was pretty elaborate scheme. So
yeah, like that whole thing it ends up just being misdirection, really.
Yeah, it was pretty elaborate. Yeah. I can't imagine how much money was spent on Angier's side in pursuing this false secret, because he moves to America in Colorado Springs to go meet Tesla. And David Bowie does an excellent job of playing.
Serkis is brilliant.
And Andy Serkis as well.
Yeah.
So they go up to Tesla's mountain, tries to meet with Tesla, but I think the first time he's kind of rejected and basically tells him, well, I'll give you some money, and if you want help, let me know. I'll be down at the hotel.
Yeah.
So finally, what happens in that is like moving to Borden really quick. He's having massive marital problems at this point.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing throughout the movie that if you're first watching it, you won't really get, but once you watch it the second time, you're like, oh, that's what's going on. So his wife notices when Angier's tells, not Angier's, when Borden tells his wife that he loves her, she can actually tell if it's genuine or not.
Yeah.
The audience at this point doesn't know why that is, but the reason why that is because they're twins. So one of them doesn't love Julia, but the other one actually does. So that's one of the little pieces, one of the little clues that's supposed to tell us that they're in fact doubles.
And especially the first time you watch the movie with that particular aspect of it, it can be easy to just believe, oh, well, it's just like, people, like maybe even the average people who are married or something. Maybe they say they love each other, and some days they actually hate each other or something like that.
Yeah, that's how I kind of interpreted the first time I watched the movie. It's like you have your good days and your bad days.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, just normal marital stuff, and that's what happens. Oh, well. They're also saying that he's getting involved with Olivia. So
I think one of them loves Olivia and one of them loves his wife, right?
Yeah, but they're both playing both roles, which is odd.
Yeah.
So he's going through these problems while over in America, Andrew's just trying to get a machine built for him, and he doesn't even know what the machine's going to do. We don't know really what the machine's going to do.
Yeah.
But the reason why he sent them on this wild goose chase is because Cutter, at some point in time, told them to go check out a science convention, and they were both actually in the room, but they didn't know. both Angiers and Border were observing this weird Tesla coil in action,
Yeah.
and it was kind of like this mysterious, weird contraption.
And I like that. I like that that little aspect of the movie too, where throughout it, several times when Tesla is in a scene, or even when Tesla is not in a scene, and when other characters are talking about Tesla, like when Angier is at his hotel, for example, it's the case that Thomas Edison is hiring people to like slander Tesla and get rid of his experiments and tarnish his work and stuff like that.
Well, that was actually real, because I
Yeah.
did read up about Tesla versus Edison, and like I know what Edison was trying to persuade the public that Tesla's AC was very dangerous.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
they went on such a crazy PR campaign that they were using Tesla's AC and stuff to like kill elephants, and
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
they actually called it Westinghousing. So before people called it electrocution, you would say if someone got electrocuted, they would say, "Oh, they got Westinghoused."
Why Westinghouse?
I believe Westinghouse was Edison's rival electric company, and
Oh, okay.
that's where Tesla had some part in.
Okay.
That's where the Edison and Tesla split came from, because Tesla originally worked for Edison, and then I guess Tesla wasn't happy, and he went to Westinghouse, I believe. So they had
Oh,
these
okay.
competing electric companies going after each other, and Edison's way of doing it was appealing directly to the public.
Right. It's kind of like a similar feud as the one between Angier and Borden.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I'm
So
going with like
we know through history who came out on top of the whole Edison and Tesla
Yep.
rivalry. But so we have Angiers over in Colorado Springs. He's seeing these amazing things that he's kind of blown away, like the wireless transmission of electricity, which was actually one of Tesla's patents. He did have wireless electrical wireless transmission of electricity. He had a patent for that. So when they're showing like it looks like a light bulb garden,
Yeah.
they're like totally blown away. But yeah, that was a real thing that he was able to transmit electricity wirelessly.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, so this whole time Tesla's building this machine for Angiers, and they're running like different tests on different objects. First they try a hat. He zaps the hat, nothing happens with the hat. Then they go and they get Andy Serkis's cat, and he's like, "Oh no, my cat! Nothing better happened to my cat." They zap the cat. The cat gets pissed off, but pretty much nothing happens to the cat. It just
Yeah.
gets zapped with electricity, and then it runs off. And Angiers is just like, "Fuck! All this money I spent in Tesla, and it's coming to nothing." And then he hears like cats fighting outside. And he goes and seeks out the cats, and he sees, what the hell? These two cats are identical. And then he sees like 50 of his top hats lying around.
Exactly. So then you know that the machine actually clones objects and even like organic material too.
Yeah, so that experiment also proves that a living person or a living animal can be cloned. So
yeah.
he's blown away by this. He goes, runs up back to mountain, tells Tesla. And Tesla's like, well, magic or science doesn't always work the way you want it to. And
Yep.
he's like, well, let me perfect this machine and we'll get
Mhm.
back to you.
Hmm.
Yeah, this whole time, Edison's men are also camping out, trying to find out what the hell Tesla's up to. So he hasn't heard from Tesla for a while. He's wanting to get his machine. Little did he know is that Edison's men burnt down Tesla's lab. So that's the end of Tesla. So he goes back to the hotel, and the hotel owner, kind of feeling bad that he told Edison's men about where Tesla was, he saved one piece of machinery for Angiers, and it was the machine. So finally victorious, Angiers goes back to London. He has this machine, and he wants to use it for his magic trick. He knows what it does, but there's one thing that happens that I guess he shows it off to Cutter first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they go to a burnt down theater, and he shows Cutter this machine and what it does. The difference between the transporting man tricks usually is the speed in which and distance they're being transported. And the distance in this case seems ungodly.
Yeah. It seems like real magic.
Yes, like he is transported at what, like 100 feet away in a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Well, we have to assume also he's employing some type of trapdoor in the very first show because he does vanish. But we know what vanishing means. It means whoever's standing in the electricity gets sent into a water tank to drown to death.
Yeah. So like that's how literally every night Angier kills himself and creates a new clone to perform a trick.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
never knows who is alive and who is dead.
What
there's
was
a
that?
there's a really interesting tidbit that it reveals at the end of the movie is that he doesn't know if he's going to be the one transported or the one that falls into the vat.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So like it's even more
It's very
it's
complex, and there's
exactly.
an element of random chance that he might die or he might actually be physically transported, like
Yeah.
the other location.
Yeah. And that's how like with Borden and Fallon actually being twins and literally sharing each other's lives, and with Angier making that sacrifice every night when he performs a trick, that's how they both sacrifice their entire lives for a magic trick, contrary to Borden always telling Angier throughout the movie that he doesn't understand sacrifice.
Yeah, so I think that Borden, or that's why I think Angier's sacrifice is so much greater. There's pretty much a 50% chance that he's going to die. That's
Oh, you
pretty
mean Angier?
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
Angier's has a
Yeah,
50% chance that he's going to die every time he performs this trick.
exactly. Yeah.
And that's and you actually you don't know this during the movie, but here's another thing that I noticed in the movie going forward when he starts to perform this trick with the new machine. The tone of his show gets so depressing.
Yeah.
Like it gets very somber. And this is kind of the other thing that is supposed to be a type of clue to what he's doing. As he seems very reluctant in his own performance to perform the trick.
Yeah,
As
exactly.
if like he seems like a depressed man. Like he might be dying, he might be living, but you don't know this at this point in the movie.
Hmm.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's this other issue, right? So he performs this trick. Borden is like, what the fuck? How is this shit possible? This does not make sense. There is no fucking way. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
So during one of his shows, Borden sneaks backstage and he sees the man locked in the death trap, the water escape, with a real lock.
When
I'm guessing,
Andrew comes through the trap door when he vanishes, right?
yes, and this is actually a scene from the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah. I like how it jumps back and forth between like three separate time periods throughout the movie.
Yeah, so the three separate time periods are this court scene, kind of the time when Borden's in jail, and what would be the other scene? Like when Borden's reading his diary and when Angiers is reading his diary. So there's another diary exchange that occurs.
Yeah,
So
and that and they're both reading each other's diaries, and then we
and
find
both of the diaries are fake.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're reading each other's fake diaries. So, okay, this is how Borden gets the diary. So, what happens is Borden gets accused of murder because at this point, I guess Angiers finds out somehow that Borden actually managed to get backstage. And instead of completing the trick, he vanishes. He pretty much has to do that anyway in order to, one, keep the trick secret, and two, to get rid of Borden in one fell swoop. So Borden gets arrested for murder, right?
Yeah.
And there's no witnesses because all of Angier's stagehands are blind.
Exactly.
So the only witness that really is there is Cutter, but he doesn't even know how this trick is performed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because in the beginning, Angiers tells Cutter that he is not to go backstage for this final 100 show performance.
And then you find out at the end something you already mentioned earlier, which is that the reason that Angier doesn't want Cutter to be backstage on this trek at all is because he would see him fall into the water tank and voluntarily die every night, and that would raise a lot of
it would raise a lot of questions or maybe answers.
Yes.
Yeah, that too.
All right, so when Angiers dies, or fakes his own death, I guess that he really does die, but when one of his clones dies and he ends the run of that show,
or he dies.
Do you remember? Well, we don't know which one dies, but one of them dies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to ask, because I don't remember if it was clear or not. Do you remember how Borden got a hold of Angier's diary?
No, I don't remember actually.
Oh goodness.
I know Fallon handed it to him. I think they were negotiating with Lord Coldemort. What's his name?
Lord Caldwell?
Caldwell's vassal. And I think they were negotiating some terms, and I think he asked him for the diary.
Oh, yeah, that might be the case. Yeah.
I think it is. I can't quite remember. But anyway, he gets handed the diary, and then we're going through Angier's diary. So a lot of the Tesla stuff it comes from the diary. So we're not entirely sure if what we see on the Tesla that's being narrated from Tesla is actually what actually happened. So there's that kind of unreliable narrator element to this whole movie whenever they're referring to the diary, since they're fake.
That reminds me too, the whole the whole wild goose chase and misdirection that Borden sends Angier on with the keyword Tesla. It's and when Angier wants Tesla to make the same machine for him that he made for Borden, we find out that Borden adds this kind of Tesla machine to his transported act, and it makes it seem like something more elaborate is happening. But you realize at the end of the movie when you know that he
It's just
actually
flashy.
yeah, it's just a way to dress it. It's just a way to dress it up, and it's a form of misdirection.
Yeah, I mean, I had this feeling that just Borden didn't understand. I mean, he didn't go far enough to be able to grab anything
Well-
that Tesla was doing. He was just watching this stuff because he was in the spot. You know, he was one of the most important people on the planet, and he wanted to know what is happening right now. So
Yeah,
he
one of the
incorporated this
things-
stuff into his shtick, right?
You think he
I
maybe
would
just
say-
wanted to use Tesla's machine as dressing up his performance in the first place?
I think that's the case because if you
Okay,
think about
agree,
it, Borden already had the secret to his trick.
Yeah, so he was
And
playing around.
content that he was driving Angier's mad with it. I think he was
Yeah.
content about that.
Yeah,
And
He was kind of maybe this is the most beautiful. I mean, one of 10,000 most beautiful elements about this movie is that Borden was ridiculously random about this stuff, and out of the sudden, this random element became a masterpiece. Being honest, with Tesla,
well,
right?
the very goose chase he sent them on actually bore fruit.
yeah, that's true. Like a lot.
So
Mm.
it was kind of like karma paying him back, I guess.
Yeah,
But anyway, it's like both of these guys are not great people, but
No. They really are not
Um,
afraid to get their hands dirty at all.
not by the end at least.
But
Exactly.
basically,
by
they're
the
the
end,
best at what
they're-
they do.
But
They are
so
true
he gets
artists.
framed, right? So Borden gets framed. And
Yep.
then this is
Mhm.
kind of where we kind of figure out that I think it starts to get put together that Borden and Fallon are linked in some way. Because it's like, oh, I'll have Fallon take care of my kid, and he has like no compunction about it whatsoever, which seems kind of odd to Lord Codlow's vassal. He's like, okay.
And if it's your first time watching the movie.
Yeah, that's for sure. And then he's performing tricks in prison, so we're thinking they're trying to set the audience up that maybe he's going to vanish from prison or do
Yeah.
something weird. Like they set it up by him, tricking the guards and
That
performing.
was just one of the most beautiful scenes in the history of movies when he has this
When he-
ball and he cannot figure it out and it
Oh,
was
he
this-
When he chains the guard to the table.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yum, 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 yum. It's so awesome.
He fakes fucking up a trick to
Yeah.
to chain the guard up.
Yeah. Awesome.
Anyway, so there's this negotiation that's going on between Caldlow and Borden, and we don't know who Caldlow is. We're thinking at this point he's like some type of enthusiast for the magician's trade. And Caldlow, it seems like his most important thing is trying to get the prestige of the transported man.
Exactly. That's the one
During the
thing
whole
that
process.
he wanted to make sure he got.
And this is like a little confusing to me because I know at that point in time when Borden's in prison, Angiers already has the superior version of the trick at this point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
But he still hasn't figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so they're having these negotiations. Borden's daughter's on the line here. She's either going to be sent to the Caldlow or to Fallon. And it's found out that if they try to send her to Fallon, that the state's going to put her in some type of work camp or something like that. And Caldlow is the best option. So they complete their negotiation. Caldlow gets a girl. And then Cutter is negotiating with Caldlow's vassal. Says, hey, I want to buy this machine. It's too dangerous. It shouldn't be anybody's hands. And Cutter doesn't know exactly what the machine does either. But he believes it to be dangerous.
Yeah.
So the vassal says he has to meet Caldlow.
Tesla warns Angier of that too, and that the machine is dangerous, and like at least a few times he tells him to destroy the machine and never use it, and that relates to one of the other major underlying themes throughout the film, which is obsession, and how much obsession over magic, and even over one magic trick takes over the entire lives of both Borden and Angier. And that reminds me of another small part earlier on in the movie when Angier and Borden are still working together for that magician.
The Chinese theater, right?
Yeah. The Cutter sends them to figure out how this old Chinese guy does this trick where he makes a giant bowl full of water appear on a table. And it's interesting that Borden is the one who can figure out that the way he performs the trick is that the real trick is the old Chinese guy pretending to be really frail and crippled in his, not crippled, but really frail and weak and fragile in his entire life, so that no one would ever believe that he can hold a giant bowl full of water in between his legs for a trick. And then by the end of the movie, you can figure out that the reason he can figure that out is because he does the same fucking thing throughout his entire life. His entire life is a magic trick too. His entire life is misdirection.
And it's funny too, because I was trying to figure out one of the other tricks he does to impress his future wife. And I believe that Fallon has broke into the apartment.
Oh yeah, when they went on their first date and he wants to come back into her house for tea, and she says the landlord won't allow it. So then he walks away and she goes into the house and he's already in there and says, milk and sugar. Probably just Fallon, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm guessing. It has to be Fallon. Into the apartment somehow.
Before we go forward, I would like to come back to this stuff before we go forward about what Cutter exactly is, because it's ridiculously accented that this guy wants to destroy this machine because he says it's magic. It's true magic, and nobody should possess this. And
that makes sense though, because magic is, to them, the tricks that they perform aren't magic. They understand how they happen, but he doesn't understand how the machine works. He saw the trick, and he doesn't get it either.
And that's
the point is that, what I wanted to say.
Sorry, go ahead.
What I wanted to say is that this Cutter, little Cutter guy is the most rational person in the whole movie. This is coming back to our Foucault talking about. There is this one thing about Foucault, that he's ridiculous, the most rational human being in the second half of 20th century. And he said, knowledge is not for knowing, knowledge is for cutting. And this is something, when I've seen this name, that this guy is Cutter, I was thinking about that. I was thinking that he's the most Cartesian guy in the whole movie. And he despises this machine because he doesn't understand what this stuff is about. And he is the one with information in the whole movie. He is the first one to say Borden has a double.
Yeah.
And he's the engineer, and that's so cute. That's so. I mean, I'm not saying that.
The funniest thing is even Olivia says he has a double.
But she's second. She's second because she's a sassy lady.
Well, yeah, that and
She's
she
smart as
she
fuck.
says that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she knows
Yeah.
as well that it's a
I mean,
double.
being honest,
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of this girl. I don't like Scarlett Johansson. I think she's ridiculously
That's
overrated. But
blasphemy, sir. Oh,
no, it's not.
yes.
But this is her best role, I think. It's. I
I don't
mean,
think it's her
maybe
best role. It's
her,
a good role.
the voice
I like
in
her as
her.
Black Widow the most because she looks really hot
Seriously,
as red.
I couldn't stand her in this Infinity War thing. Okay. What do I know about women?
Well,
Yeah, but
anyway,
I wanted
jumping
to.
back into it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So Borden's about to be hung, right? As an audience,
Yeah.
we're expecting him to like magically do something at this point
Yeah.
because they're kind of foreshadowing that aspect. But he gets hung. He dies.
Yeah. And like once you see the end of the movie, you figure out that like with what we already mentioned where Angier literally sacrifices himself every night to perform a magic trick, we figure out that how he got Borden in prison is by with this elaborate plan. They don't say it explicitly, but you can figure it out given what's happened, that he figures out this elaborate plan to frame Borden for his death because he kills himself every night in the tank anyway. So yeah, so he has it so that he can frame Borden for his murder, so that Borden can be killed for killing him, which is like
Well,
so
what he really wants is revenge for Julia, right? He wants
yeah, that's like his
some
main
type of
motivation for
revenge.
the whole
Well,
movie.
not Julia. I don't remember what was her name. Was her
His
name
wife?
Julia?
Oh no,
I
that's
think
Borden's
Julia
wife.
is Warden's wife. I forgot
Yeah,
the name
I
of his
forget what
wife.
Angier's wife's name was.
That's why I
Yeah.
always use. I never use characters' names. I always use actors' names.
Actresses' names, yeah.
Yeah,
So anyway, this whole time he's kind of there's like a mesh of reasons why he wants to get at Borden. It's like so many different things. It's causing him physical injury, the death of his wife,
stealing his
the
mistress.
success of his transported man trick, the double crosses, and it just kind of builds and builds. But he really wants the guy dead, pretty much.
Yep. Yep.
But what happens, the integral switch in the plot is when the machine is delivered and Cutter wants to meet Caldlow. And Cutter meets Caldlow, and it's Angiers with a mustache and goatee.
And Borden meets Caldlow too when Borden is in prison, right?
Yeah, so Borden goes and meets him. Fucking Angiers is like, that's the guy, he's alive. And no one's like, nobody is paying attention to him.
You mean Borden?
Yeah, no one's paying attention to Borden. Nobody's paying attention to Caldlow either.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're magicians. This guy's nuts. Whatever. so anyway, he makes himself known. That was one mistake.
Yep.
That he made, I think.
Because he thought he had beaten him.
Yeah, he did. Another mistake was him coming in contact with Cutter.
Yeah.
Because after Borden died, Cutter was like, "What the fuck, man? I saw your body there. How is this? What the fuck is going on? Is that you had a man die over this rivalry?" And Cutter was not cool with that at all. So this is when Cutter does his investigation, right? So Cutter, throughout the whole movie, was on Angier's side pretty much the whole entire movie until he found out that one, he caused Borden to die over the rivalry, and two, figured out what the trick was all about.
And took his daughter.
That was another big one too. It just seemed very dishonorable to Cutter, all that was done to him.
Yeah.
So Cutter goes to the dark side, Borden's side,
Yep.
and they hatch a plan. So I guess at this point,
And none
I
of
guess
this is
Cutter
explained.
already knows. I think Cutter already knows that he has a twin, and I don't know if he already knew Fallon was his twin or he deduced it, but it seems like at some point he knows that Fallon is his brother or whatever. This puts Angiers in great danger because if Angiers knew he had a double and if that double was a twin, killing one of them was not going to end the feud.
Exactly.
This was
And
a
that's
big oversight.
yeah. That's what leads to Borden taking the final revenge on him at the end of the movie and shooting Angier, and that's why Cutter is on Borden's side, and then you find out at like the end of the movie that Cutter goes to Borden's side, like you said, because of all that happened, and then he helps get Borden's daughter back to him, and then like in the final shot of the movie, you finally realize what we already mentioned about Angier's sacrifice, because even after Borden shoots Angier, he still thinks that Angier has not made any sacrifices or gotten his hands dirty. But then in the final shot of the movie, you see one of Angier's clones dead in one of the water tanks.
Yeah, because Angiers is like, go look in these tanks and tell me that I haven't sacrificed
Yeah.
anything. He's like,
And
no,
then
I'm not going to look at them.
exactly. That's like the final the final holy fuck moment of the movie.
Yeah, this movie really reminded me a lot of like The Sixth Sense or any of the movies that kind of have that final crazy twist at the end that make you rethink the whole plot of the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly why immediately after the first time that I watched this movie, I was like, okay, I have to watch this again immediately because I don't fucking get it.
Yeah, the first time I watched it, I did get it, but I didn't realize the intricacies of the other elements, like with the wife, and the double life and Olivia and
Yeah.
all of that. Like I didn't realize all of that was explicit in the prior plot. So, and it's hard to follow too because they jump around in time a lot as well
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
in the
Exactly.
movie.
Yeah, but being honest, when I've seen it for the first time and I had this revelation in the end, I didn't have a feeling that I do have to understand what is happening all the time. And this is a thing about the best movies in the history of movies, that you do not have to be intellectual all the time, because this stuff is so great on so many levels, on so many different things,
Yeah.
that you
That
do
fits.
Yeah.
not care about plot that much.
That
And
fits
I
in
do
with.
like
That
I
fits in
like
with
that
the.
they leave the unanswered questions still. There's still
Yeah.
unanswered
Yeah.
questions in the movie.
Like
Exactly, yeah, but isn't it
it's
so cool?
that fits in with like another one of the major themes in the movies. Like it's that phrase, "Are you watching closely?" Because if you
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things that are out in the open are mundane, like Fallon's presence, for example. But then you can see Borden's twin like several times throughout the movie, but you're not really looking because you don't really want to know how the trick is performed. You want to be mystified. So that goes totally with what you were just saying, Polish Christian Bale. You don't really pay attention to all the aspects of the plot because you want to be mystified.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do kind of let the audience know that out of everybody, it seems that Borden is the most keen observer.
Yeah.
And I remember there is this one scene, but I can't remember if this is actually supposed to be a young Borden where the magician crushes the bird and the kid is like, what happened to his brother?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's Julia, who ends up being Borden's wife. That's her nephew when
Yeah,
Borden
that's her
Oh,
first,
nephew.
first meets her.
And
okay,
this is one of the
okay.
most important
I kind of
for
feel
me.
that the kid is like a younger version of Borden.
Exactly,
He did have a
exactly. And
natural
he's a
tendency
very,
toward magic.
yeah, he is a very smart lad. He said, and he said one of the most important scene. This is, when you ask me, one of the most important scenes in the history of cinema, when Borden says, um, he, "The secret impresses no one. The trick you use it for is everything you've got."
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Hmm.
this is not okay. So you might, when you watch this movie, you might say that this sacrifice is the ultimate moment of art. But being honest, this particular sentence is the ultimate moment of art, because
Yeah.
you have to. This is the sacrifice. You don't talk to people about what you do. You just do your stuff,
yeah.
and
Oh, that
everybody will
yeah.
ask you
It's just
about
like,
all those little things.
and it's like how and Christopher Nolan does this with a lot of his films, where he makes the entire film like what like an entire idea that the entire film is based on. Like Inception, for example, it's
Yeah,
you can look at the whole movie as a dream, and similar to that, um, in The Prestige, you can look at the whole movie as a magic trick that's being performed
yeah.
in front.
And being honest, you, it's uh, it's just 100% a movie.
Yeah,
It's 100% a movie, and this is the smartest. I mean, I truly believe that this guy is just the smartest movie maker in the 21st century.
Christopher
Christopher.
He's
Nolan.
done, yeah, Nolan. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's ridiculous. He's ridiculous. And when I mean, we don't have time because it's not 3 hours. It should be 75 hours talking about all of the
Yeah.
stuff he's
yeah,
done. But when you think about that, about Dunkirk, I heard from a very wise guy from um, from Kenny's Wilbur's team,
and Ken
uh,
Wilber.
Ken Wilber, yeah, team. One of his friends just said very important thing, that Dunkirk is an integral movie, because in Dunkirk you don't have a villain.
That's true.
You don't have a villain. The same thing I always say about Inception. You don't have a villain in Inception. They always shoot uh, not intelligent, um, let's say, I mean, projections of the imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Yeah, and the guy on the other side is not the villain. The guy on the other side who you fight with is your friend,
Or
and
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
that's
and
just ridiculous.
In Inception, sometimes the bad guys are literally aspects of your own subconscious.
Yeah, and in the end, you just become the villain becomes your friend. I mean, he goes into your positions, let's say. But it's, I mean, and with this one, with Prestige, what I love about this movie is just the best metaphor of creative process,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
all of those emotional things, this hatred and this ego driven stuff is just exactly what happens on the set of every decent movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good
And
point.
everybody's lives were destroyed because of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh, you always have those Michael Bays that are so ridiculous, like Angier, and you always have those producers, those Jerry's Bruckheimers that are so
yeah,
sensible, like Cutter.
yeah,
Well, at least Cutter, or at least Borden, I guess, gets his daughter, like the biological father
Mhm.
gets his
yeah,
daughter back. But I think
Yeah,
Fallon was just kind of, because you kind of throughout the movie you see the two personalities, and Fallon is kind of an asshole,
yeah.
and then like regular Borden is like a cool guy. Because I know during the scene where he goes to dinner with his wife, he's like a total ass and all about the performance. And I think maybe that Fallon kind of controlled and Because it seemed like the Borden was timid compared to Fallon. Because you would notice how body Fallon was when he was acting out. He was the one always prone to anger. Even when Borden, who did not love Olivia, like they never got into crazy fights.
Yeah.
I never, I
Oh,
never
that's a
even
good point.
thought
Yeah.
about that. It's
I've
brilliant what
never,
you're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've never
great.
thought about that before either, about how maybe Fallon was controlling things rather than Borden. Or, I mean, it could have been both of them, but maybe Fallon had more of an influence. That's interesting.
Because if
Exactly.
we think about the end of the movie,
That's so
where
cool.
Borden is in prison, he apologizes for pursuing the things that happen to create these damaging problems for the two of them. And I'm thinking at this point when he's apologizing, he's the Fallon and the other one is the Borden. So the
Yeah,
one in prison, I believe, is. But the funny thing is, Fallon is kind of a mute that doesn't really do much, right? He's like, I feel like Borden is natural playing Fallon, but Fallon does not like being Fallon.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Oh,
it's
this reminds
awesome.
me. This
It's
reminds me too.
awesome.
I think we forgot to mention earlier that that at one point, because of all the problems that are
Andrew, are you with us?
He got stuck. Okay, he's looking up into the heavens. He's
Because this movie is too fucking deep. This movie is too fucking deep.
yeah, he got
he
lost in.
says, "You don't mean it today."
He got stuck.
Sorry?
You were
One more
stuck.
time.
You're gonna have to start back about 20 seconds.
Oh, did I get cut off? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
When I was saying that there are problems in Borden and Julia's relationship because she's actually in a relationship with two different people, and she flips that line that you mentioned earlier, Dusty, where when he tells her he loves her on one day, she says, "You don't mean it today," which means that it means more on the days when you do mean it. And then later on in their marriage, when they're fighting, when she's fighting with I think Fallon, who is pretending to be Borden at one point, she says, "You mean it?" She said, no, it's when Borden tells her he loves her, because he actually means it. He tells her he loves her, and she can tell that he means it. So she says, "You mean it today," which makes it all the more worse on the days when you don't mean it. And you can see that they're fighting all the time and stuff like that, particularly when she's fighting with Fallon. And she gets so fed up with him being like, seeming like he's bipolar, because he's literally two different people, because Fallon is really angry in comparison to Borden, as you said, that basically she kills herself because she can't handle this insanity anymore.
And then we kind of get a hint that she knows. I feel like she knows that they're twins, and she's just wanting to get them to admit to it.
Yeah, like when she's when Borden is meeting with Olivia after Julia kills herself, she's saying that Julia wanted to meet her and she thought she wanted to tell her something. So maybe that was what she wanted to tell her, which is that Borden is two people, is actually Borden and Fallon, and they're twins.
Yeah, I think the wife figured it out. She was just kind of fed up that she had to play along with it if she already knew what would be the point.
Yeah.
And I think that she wanted them to admit to what they were doing. And there's another interesting part too. Is like after he gets into an argument, he goes to Fallon's like, "Can you fix this for me?"
Yeah. And take my daughter
Exactly.
to the circus. No, is it the circus or the zoo? I don't remember.
The zoo.
Zoo.
Yeah.
The zoo, yeah.
But the one in prison, I don't know, it's confusing because the one in prison is the one that's not like in love with Julia.
Yeah, that's the one who's in love with Olivia, right?
No,
Yeah.
the Fallon. I mean the evil one.
Yeah, Fallon.
And the good one is in love with Julia, and that's his daughter, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It gets confusing.
Yeah. Well,
It
as
is,
far as
it
we
is.
know, who knows? It could be the case that it's actually like the Fallon slash asshole Borden who actually impregnated Julia. Who knows?
Yeah, because we never get told like if there's like some secret agreement where they're not allowed to do certain things with the
Yeah.
mistress.
Okay.
It seems like there wouldn't be that agreement since they stress so much sharing each other's lives, like even to the point that after Borden gets shot by Angier and loses two of his fingers, it's revealed later on in the movie towards the end that basically the Fallon slash asshole Borden, he literally gets his fingers cut off so that they can consistently be twins.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so there
Dedication, man.
Yeah.
there could be a version that one guy is in love with Sarah, Rebecca Hall, and the second one is father of her kid. It's
It could possibly be that. It could be
Yeah, it could
possible.
be. But
That's not really clear.
I do believe that Nolan is very is very a fatherly person, so I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't go there. I would go.
You think it is probably just like the Borden who loves his wife who is the father?
Yeah, he grabbed the girl. I
Okay.
would believe that. Yeah, I would believe that.
And I think too that's why the imprisoned Borden wasn't too miffed about the transfer of the daughter to Fallon.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's like, oh yeah, he's like, oh Fallon, I'll just take care of it, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Because I think while he's in prison, I think at that point he's trying to repent like all of the bullshit that he's caused.
Yeah. Yeah. For
And
sure.
even though that may not be his biological daughter, he knows that he put her at risk, so he's trying to do all that he can for the brother that's going to continue on living.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this movie is a mind fuck, isn't it?
Exactly. For sure.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, that's why. Absolutely, that's why.
That's why it's so great.
Yeah, so this is my favorite Christian Bale movie. Enjoy,
Rightly so, sir.
motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Rightly so. Rightly so.
Is it your favorite Christopher Nolan movie too?
Mine, you know what? That's a good question. I really like this movie.
Me too.
I've only
Right,
seen
so-
Inception once, and I really did like it the first time. The first time I saw Memento, I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah. Man,
I didn't
like,
get it at all the first time I
Memento-
watched it.
all three of those, like Memento and Inception and The Prestige, are all awesome. I think my favorite Christopher Nolan movie is probably Inception, just a little bit, but I mean, like, The Prestige and Memento are like really right up there too. Like, it's hard to decide which one I like more. Maybe I just like the idea of dreams a little bit more. But like all of his movies, like other than the Dark Knight trilogy, they're obviously a little different because they're like a superhero franchise. But especially in the Dark Knight, the Joker is the fucking best film villain of all time. And
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Christopher Nolan's first film called Following?
No, I haven't seen it.
Not yet. I heard that I shouldn't do that.
Oh, it's pretty good. It's pretty good too. It's not. It's way less like broad and it's way less broad and giant than some of his other movies, like a lot of his other movies. But it's basically it's in black and white, and it is this like complex psychological thriller, like a lot of his other movies. It's about this writer with writer's block who just starts following people so he can see how people live their lives, so he can maybe get some ideas for stories to come up with. And one of the guys that he starts following one day notices that he's following him, confronts him, and he finds out that he's a thief, and he invites him to come and start robbing houses with him. And then there's this whole complex thing eventually about like who's like whether he's telling him the truth, and then there's this stuff where this woman gets involved and you don't know who she's loyal to or whether she's switched loyalties. So there's a lot of really exciting complex stuff in that one too.
Sounds like the story of Donald Trump.
Well, I know I like the end twist better for the Prestige than the Inception.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, I think the end of Prestige blew me away more than the end of Inception did.
I don't know. I think they both blew me away equally because they're a little different. Like at the end of the Prestige, you notice, holy fuck, this is a fucking mind fuck. But you know what happened at the end, especially like if you watch it a second time. But at the end of Inception, it's totally ambiguous. Like it could be the case that the main character Cobb, he is real and he actually has been investigating the dream world in the movie, or it could just as easily be the case that his entire experience in the movie actually is the dream, because you never see that top stop spinning. You see it wobble, but you don't see it stop.
I get that. But I would like to come back to something that I said before, that I do not even care about the story that much. Because
well, I'll say this, like there is a trope that it was all a dream, so that didn't shock me that much when it came to Inception, because there is a narrative trope of saying that was all a dream. They've done that
and
quite a few times.
Often that's disappointing. Or another common trope too is at the end you find out, guess what? The main character's crazy and it's a completely unreliable narrator. That can be good. It can be sometimes that's done really well, but it can be easy to fuck that up too.
Yes, it can be. But that's why I was blown away more with Prestige, because I didn't know it was going to be a double until that point where he revealed himself. I was like, oh shit, it was a double all along. And
it is more complex too, like that. Like the Prestige, that's the one where I literally watched it a second time immediately after I saw it the first time, because I didn't fucking get it. With Inception, I kind of got it the first time I watched it.
Yeah, that's why I only watched The Prestige a second time yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So I was like looking at it at a different lens immediately, and like I was like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here.
Yeah, I've probably seen it like half a dozen times.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that for me, Inception is the second best movie I've seen in my life, next to Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Because when I watch this stuff, it's not about all of this complexity. I mean, all of this complexity is a good thing, because it means that somebody who is telling me the story is intellectually in the right place. But what is so important is that this DiCaprio, Cobb guy, he is emotionally in a ridiculously right place. He's vulnerable, but he's not, fighting another human being because he's just fucked up.
Yeah, he's psychologically unstable.
He is psychologically unstable, but he's unstable in the right direction.
Then he played a...
Oh,
I lost him again.
Where are you?
Yeah, like he...
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. His wife, obviously in Inception, Cobb, a projection of his wife keeps always invading the dreams when he's basically invading other people's dreams to try to steal their secrets. So she keeps fucking everything up and sabotaging him because he won't just stay in the dream world with her forever. He keeps wanting to go back to the real world, right?
but you know, in the end, when you look at some sort of geometry of where those guys go, when you look at Angier and Borden, they just go down and down and down and down, and in the end, they just there is this one in just the last grasp of going to right position because Christian Bale grabs his kid. But
Right.
with Inception, he's always going in into the right position.
Oh, you mean like he's always the good guy?
I mean, he tries to be a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the notion is into being a good guy.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying not nice guy, a good guy. I truly believe that those positions are right. I would also go there. I wouldn't do the stuff that Jackman and Bale do.
Yeah.
This is the first thing, but the second thing is the rhythm of the movie, because Inception is fucking insane.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for Andrew, because I know you mentioned that another trope you don't like is when you find out the guy's crazy.
It depends on how it's done, because there are some movies that I like that have that, like Secret Window, for example.
Okay,
But
I wanted to see what you thought about another DiCaprio movie, Shutter Island.
Which one?
Yeah, Shutter Island. Yeah.
Shutter Island. Have you seen that?
You must have.
No, did he disconnect?
Yep.
Uncle Andros, can you hear us?
Yeah, I think I got cut off for 30 seconds or so there. You were gonna ask me, what were you asking?
What do you think about Shutter Island?
That's actually the one I was gonna mention. That I like how Secret Window does that, where at the end, guess what, guys? The main character's crazy. With Shutter Island, that one didn't work for me as well. But I read the book, and the book Shutter Island is so much better than the movie. That
they're always so much better than the movie.
Yeah.
By the way, did anyone
though? Have you guys read the Prestige book? Because I read it a long time ago, and that's actually one of the few times where I found the book disappointing in comparison to the movie.
Disappointing is a very nice word, I would say.
Yeah, like it's so different from the movie, but Christopher Nolan made that story so much fucking better. There's none of
because
this.
He's a genius person. He's a genius person.
There's so much less like complex plot and wondering what they do and a surprise twist ending and stuff. And there's totally stuff like that isn't anywhere near as exciting. And there's I don't really remember the details, but there's like something about Angier dying and being a ghost to haunts Borden or something like that. But
yeah, that was the point.
Prestige is so much better.
Yeah.
Okay, so the book's not as good.
Yeah.
Basically, the point of the book is that when Angier gets this Tesla machine, he becomes this ghost, and he just lives forever. And it's kind of who cares? But there was only, being honest, there is all of this brilliance of the movie has nothing to do with the book. It doesn't have any of those details.
Exactly.
But there is one really nice thing that I found in the book, but it's maybe because it's just books are about language, okay? So what I liked about the book is that, taking into account that it's just a different beast, there is a moment basically in the beginning of the third act that Angier grabs the Tesla machine, and he doesn't understand that it's a miracle, and he uses the same language to describe his conflict with Christian Bale. He uses the same language, and he doesn't understand that he has this machine, but he's talking about it all the time. In a movie, you don't see that. You just see the thing. You see that this guy is depressed. You see the trick and preparations for the great Danton coming back. In a book, you just listen to this guy just bitching and moaning all the time in the same manner that it was from the beginning of the book. And that's cute when you see a human being approaching a miracle and doesn't understanding that. And I think that this guy, he figured it out. He had this thing, but he's one of the most important sci-fi writers, but I don't see much talent there.
I also have another question about Angier. Which of his accents is fake?
Oh, I think his his kind of American accent is fake, because when he's Lord Caldlow, he says that that's his, like, he's been Lord Caldlow all the time, and we know that when he's at the start of the movie, when he's talking with his wife about how he changed his identity and he changed his name, it's to protect his family from the supposed shame of being a magician. So it seems like he comes from a rich family, and his real accent is British. Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't. What do you guys think about that?
That sounds like a plausible explanation.
What do you think?
I was trying to figure out. I was like, why? Which one is real? I don't know. I didn't know. I didn't catch that.
What do you think about the question that you asked me, Dusty? What do you think about Shutter Island and Secret Window in terms of that trope of, guess what, guys? The main character is crazy.
No, it's just a disaster.
I had not seen Secret Window. I hadn't seen any movies that employed that trope, so that surprised me when I was watching the movie.
Shutter Island?
I did, yeah, because before then I didn't watch or read anything. Oh, the guy was crazy all along. Like I've seen a lot of with the dreams, but not with that particular subject matter.
Okay.
So it was surprising, and I enjoyed that part of it. But you said the book is way better, right?
Yeah, the book is way better. I want to read other books by that author too. You've read the book too, Polish Christian Bale?
I didn't read that. I heard it's ridiculously awesome, and I forgot about this thing. But I totally agree that when I was watching this movie, it was kind of it's a punch in the face. It's a punch in the face, because this is one of the most important things when we talk about movies, that we go into caves, we go into Joseph Campbell, we go into emotional states, we go into being good and bad. Even Jordan B. Peterson. There is good and there is bad, and over intellectualized doesn't work. And the point about Chris Nolan is that this guy is ridiculously over intellectualized, but he also has this understanding of emotional structures. I don't know if you guys if you heard that, or did it occur to you that he's always writing his scripts with his brother?
Yeah, Jonathan Nolan is his.
Jonathan Nolan, yeah. And they have this thing that they just talk to each other. That they talk about this stuff during interviews. That Jonah he writes with his right hand, and Chris writes with his left hand. And they really have this organized thing with the hemispheres, and they truly think about things differently. And Chris does understand the importance of the emotional aspects. Or maybe he doesn't understand it. Maybe he just does that because he's just it's Freudian thing. He just gets that. And he goes into emotions. There is this thing, Westworld, and it's figured out. Yeah, it's figured out by Jonah Nolan, and it's just so ridiculously over intellectualized. It's just unbearable.
Oh, I thought the first season was actually pretty good.
Okay, I get it, but I mean, I get it. It is very good because it's
I didn't know
so
that the Nolans were
so
involved
much
with
stuff
that.
you can grab from it. It's just so ridiculously intellectual. It's like Interstellar.
Well, I understand it better than Foucault.
But it's movie. It's not a book,
Yeah,
and it's realism.
Interstellar's awesome
It
too.
is understandable. I'm not saying it's not understandable. I'm not saying it's over complex in this sense that you cannot get it. My problem is that those people just intellectualize. I do not care about any character in Westworld.
So there's not enough emotional significance in the
There
characters in
is
comparison to
no.
other.
What about Arnold? You don't like Arnold?
Which one is it? I mean, it's
Arnold's the guy with the glasses, like one of the main dudes.
the black guy,
Yeah,
Jeffrey Rush. Jeffrey Rush.
I don't know his
Well,
name. He's like the second in command.
I always care about this guy because he's one of my favorite actors. If I am correct,
He's
I'm
the guy
checking
with the glasses, the receding hairline. He finds out that he's not a person.
Yeah, Jeffrey Rush. I think.
I don't know his name, but I know he's like
Yeah, with
second in
glasses.
charge.
You know, I see. Jeffrey Wright. Excuse
He's
me.
like the main character.
Who's Arnold? Arnold? No, Arnold is a mystery man.
What?
Arnold is a mystery man.
No,
They
Arnold
talk
is
about.
a mystery man, but he's also Arnold. Haven't you seen the whole thing?
I've seen the first season.
Yeah, and they
Hated it.
reveal that at the end of the first season.
It
But
is
I didn't care
It is
about
Jeffrey
it.
You don't remember that he is Arnold, like the AI version of him?
I'm just okay. I opened IMDb. What I see is that Jeffrey Wright, wonderful, is Bernard.
Yeah, it's him, Bernard. Yes, that
Bernard,
guy.
yeah, Bernard. So Bernard is Arnold, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Bernard.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
You guys are revealing.
I'm saying you don't like that character.
He's wonderful. He's wonderful. Yeah.
Well, you said you don't like any characters. You don't like him?
I mean, it's like I don't care about any characters.
You don't care about Bernard.
I didn't care about Bernard because when there was this revelation that he's an android, okay, so what? Exactly. That's the point. I mean, when Anthony Hopkins is given his structural understanding of humanity and when we would like to go, I mean, what the fuck do I care? It's like Blade Runner 2049.
You didn't like that either? I liked it.
Okay, it's cute. It's very beautiful. It's very beautiful. I mean, I mean, I didn't feel the same thing. I mean, I didn't despise this project as much as Westworld because it's very short. It's only 4 hours of one movie. Blade Runner, the new Blade Runner.
I like the theme song to Westworld though.
It's awesome. Yeah, there is a lot of wonderful work around it.
It's a great theme song.
Yeah, it is. But
and it's the same guy who wrote that theme song wrote the Game of Thrones theme song.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's the same composer.
Awesome.
And he also, I think he also wrote the soundtrack to Prison Break as well.
Oh,
I don't remember that.
I watched half of the first episode of that show and then bailed because it seemed cheesy.
Prison Break. I loved Prison Break.
Maybe I didn't
And
give it
like,
enough of a chance.
I mean, it was one of the first.
well, I like Prison Break
television-
because Peter Storm, the guy who's
Stormer.
Stormare's in it. I
Yeah.
like him. He's not a great actor, but his characters are all always interesting.
I love this guy. Yeah.
Who's Peter Stormare?
Yeah, I mean, he always reminds me of when I was in high school and watching European stuff, like Lars
Oh,
von
that
Trier.
Well, he always plays foreigners,
Yeah.
but sometimes he doesn't. He plays like American. There's American dialects. And in that show, he plays a Italian mob boss.
Oh, okay.
Let me.
And then there's Teabag. That guy's an excellent actor. The guy who played Teabag.
Teabag. Okay. Yeah, he's okay.
Oh,
But he didn't
That guy is an
He
excellent
didn't do
actor.
enough, I
Yeah.
think. They never gave him enough roles, I would say, because this guy is ridiculous.
Teabag is in there throughout the whole series.
Yeah, but that's the only thing you would connect this guy to. I
Teabag
think.
is the funniest name for a character ever.
Yeah,
Well,
but Sklepper guy,
he usually plays villains though, but he plays a villain in I Zombie.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's one of the
Mhm.
he's the dad of what's his name? What's his
Yeah.
name's dad? The white, the guy who has bleached blonde hair. He's like creepy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
That's his dad, and his dad is Teabag.
Okay.
He also
Okay.
plays one of the villains, I think, in season 3 of Heroes, maybe season 2.
Yeah, I think season 3. And he's also the
Season
villain.
3.
He's the villain in Transporter 3 too.
Also, the guy that's a villain in Heroes is also the guy in iZombie. Same guy.
Yep.
Well, the guy that plays the white samurai dude in Heroes is the same guy in iZombie. His dad is Teabag.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, excuse me, because I was watching and I see.
He's also the bad guy in Alias.
That's right, Alias. There you go.
Yes. Jesus Christ.
That's right. The bad guy. No, the bad guy in Alias is the same bad guy from Heroes season 1 or 2.
Yeah, season 1, I think.
Season 1. Yeah, the bad guy in Alias is the same bad guy from season 1 and Heroes.
Yeah.
The world is just so small, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Peter Stormer's best role was in Big Lebowski.
No, Peter Stormare's best role was in Red Alert 3.
I've never
Okay, so
even seen that.
you got me. But Big Lebowski?
Oh, the game you mean?
Yes, the video game.
Command and Conquer Red Alert 3.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I think he plays Einstein in that game.
Oh, okay.
Jesus Christ. I mean, I love those little cutscenes. They were wonderful.
Well, the Red Alert had live action cutscenes, so they're not it's not voice work. They're actually real scenes.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
those girls were just fantastic.
I'm not sure if I played that game. If I did, it was a long fucking time ago.
Mm. Who was your favorite character in Lost?
Oh man, it's hard to say. There's so many great characters. Like I don't know, maybe I'd say it's maybe Locke or Sawyer or Richard Alpert or Jacob or maybe Kate. Like all of those characters. Like Saeed is good too. Like,
So you
there's
didn't
so
like what's his name? The leader of the others?
oh yeah, he's fucking great too. Benjamin, is that who it is?
Ben. Ben is
Yeah,
my favorite
Ben.
character.
Yeah. It's so hard to
Yeah.
pick my favorite character because they're so different and awesome in so many ways.
Well, I like when Ben becomes like this vigilante who's beating people up with nightsticks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Especially
that
since
little dude is running around beating up people with a nightstick.
he's such a great villain too because he looks totally non-threatening. He
Yeah,
doesn't look dangerous at all.
yeah. What was that, Mr. Something? I forgot his name, but he died. He was like the shaman type dude.
I don't remember.
He was like like this shaman guy who I think he was kind of like friends with Locke. I don't know. He was stuck on the island.
I don't know.
He had a
That's
stick. He always had a
it.
stick with him.
I fucking love like 99% of that show, but the ending just fucking disappointed the shit out of me. Like, oh,
Oh, it was all a dream.
the whole island and the whole series is basically purgatory. Thanks, guys. That's a great ending.
Yeah, that was a bad end. I think they just didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah. I think maybe they built it. Maybe they knew what the beginning was from the time they started the show. That's entirely possible. But maybe if they didn't, maybe they just built it up so much that it's just impossible to have a good ending for such a fucking amazing show.
Yeah, I liked Ben Linus and Locke a lot.
Yeah, they were good too. You know, like that John Locke and Richard Alpert are, it seems to me like they're characters that are actually named after real philosophers.
Is Richard Alpert a philosopher?
Yeah, that's the guy. I think that's actually that's actually the guy who changed his name to Ram Dass, and he's like a huge like hippie hero who did a lot of LSD in the 60s.
Oh, okay. Ram Dass. Is that the person that Duncan Trussell visits?
Yeah, yeah. I watched like a half-hour documentary about him on Netflix once, and he's such a like super uber hippie. It's great.
Which characters did you hate in Lost?
Oh man, I don't know.
Or you didn't like?
Well, I mean, like because I thought they were bad characters, or because I
Yeah.
thought like bad characters? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I can't really think of that many bad characters. Like even later on in the season, what's that dude's name who's the scientist who gets involved with time travel?
I know who you're talking about.
That
I
guy-
don't
that
know his
guy's-
name though.
That guy's based on a real scientist too, because I forget his name, but that guy's was a real scientist. Edmund something or other? I don't remember.
Edmund, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
Edmund something,
and the-
Edmund or something
And the
like
redhead chick who he loves, she's awesome too.
that. Yeah, the show gets weird.
Yeah.
The show does get strange. Namaste.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, in my own where I live, we have stations or areas named after the stations in Lost.
Whoa, really? That's awesome.
No, no, this is just in my place. So my room where my computer and where I work out of, we call it the Pearl.
The what?
The Pearl,
Oh, cool.
which is one of the Lost stations.
Yeah.
And then her work area, it's called the Tempest.
That's awesome.
Wonderfully.
Yeah, we got super off track with Lost. All these
Yeah.
weird mind-bending TV shows.
Yeah. Well, Prestige makes you think about lots of other mind-bending shows and movies.
Like Red Alert 3.
Yes, Red Alert 3.
No, I got no idea.
No, I was just messing. I wouldn't say that's his best role. But he does a lot of voice work that I really like that he does with games and TV shows and stuff
Yeah.
that aren't necessarily like on-screen performances. He does a lot of voice acting that I like.
Oh, okay.
But I think he was in one of the Marvel superhero movies as a villain.
Was he?
Yeah, like one of those cheap villains that they kill like in 5 minutes.
You remember which
Who are
movie?
talking about?
I don't remember. I know it's one of them.
Okay.
If I'm correct, I think Scarlet Witch kills him in one of the movies.
Who's Scarlet Witch?
I'm not Scarlet Witch. Black
Black Widow.
Black Widow.
Yeah.
That's why.
Johansson.
That's why you said Scarlet.
Yeah, that's. I mixed those up. Yeah, Black Widow.
Yeah, it's kind of obvious.
Sorry.
I don't know.
Scarlet Spider.
Scarlet Spider, Witch Johansson. I don't know. Scarlet Witch is a whole different character.
But okay, but coming back to this Nolan guy, what I liked about this Scarlett Johansson girl in this movie is that she was actually a woman, because this is one thing that Nolan doesn't understand is
a femme fatale.
I mean, she was a woman. I mean, she was femme fatale. Okay, good for her. But she was a woman, because this is the biggest problem with Nolan, that he is unable to write females.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Like that. Like that.
Ridiculous.
Like that.
Ridiculously. And
that chick in Inception who helps them.
I mean, this chick in Inception worked because she's lesbian, and good for her.
and he didn't write Talia al Ghul very well either.
She was terrible. She was ridiculously terrible. Girls in his movies are just ridiculously stupid, or they are boys.
Yeah, that's a common criticism of him.
Yeah, and that's the problem. But I mean, it's a good thing that you find this kind of Johansson girl. He grabs her sex appeal, and she just goes there, and she doesn't understand where she's going, because it's so vague what this character is about. But she's always sexy. That was ridiculously awesome about her.
Yeah.
Because let's say Murph is ridiculous.
Maybe.
This Interstellar girl.
Interstellar girl?
Oh, I like her.
But she was a boy.
I like the female characters in Interstellar.
Yeah, because they're powerful and they're intellectual. But they're not girls. There's no possibility that the girl would have this kind of grudge.
Like you can't have like Nolan can't write heroic girls who are also feminine.
I mean, they think like boys. That's the problem. I think that Cameron is wonderful. I was watching the second Terminator movie.
That's awesome.
And Sarah Connor is just ridiculous. She's a witch.
Oh, she's a
masterpiece. She's just. I mean,
such a badass in that one in comparison to the first one too.
It's the PTSD, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but being honest, I mean, this is a role of a life. This is her prestige.
Yeah, like what else?
But she became a real life Alex Jones, except what she says is real.
That's true.
I don't know those things. I didn't follow this stuff.
Well, part two, like if she told somebody what she knew, they'd just think she was fucking insane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you know, I mean,
that's what they do at the start of Terminator 2.
Yeah, and when I'm watching,
that's why she is in it.
Always.
At all.
Yeah, exactly. Because no one believes that. because no one believes that an evil killer robot from the future came and tried to kill her son.
Yeah. But emotionally, what this girl is doing with this part is just ridiculous, and I'm always, oh fuck, oh fuck. And when I'm watching this Interstellar movie, yeah, it works because it's intellectualized. Okay, she has to be there, and she doesn't like her dad, and even Jessica Chastain, who is probably the most beautiful woman on this planet, and I love her so much, and
I thought
she's
you said.
brilliant.
I thought you said someone else was the most beautiful.
I said she was hot more than once.
Ooh.
Never said I loved her. I like
Well, I
women,
mean,
being honest.
I mean,
Yeah,
I agree that even though I like the female characters a lot in Interstellar also, but I think like Matthew McConaughey, he's like he gives my favorite performance out of all the characters in that movie, which
he
makes
saved
sense
this
since
movie.
he's the
Being
main
honest,
character.
he
Like
saved.
when he sees all those messages, like all those video messages from his kids when they get stuck, in that one. I forget whether it was a wormhole or whether it was some strange planet where they get stuck there for 20 years or something. And he
Exactly.
sees all those video messages and he just starts crying like that. That made me cry when I saw that.
Exactly, because this guy just saved this movie.
Yeah.
Because he truly believes he is a pioneer. He is a pioneer. And he said, I mean, I'm going to be a pioneer. And Jessica Chastain is just playing a part of being a genius woman.
My favorite McConaughey performance is in True Detective season 1.
Me too, man. I fucking love that.
He was okay, but I always knew this guy is just ridiculous. I've even seen this Dark Tower movie that is truly bad.
Hmm?
I haven't seen the movie. I've only read the first book.
I believe that books are much better than the movie. Movie is just disposable. It's just Netflix movie, and McConaughey always stays in shape. This
Yep.
guy is brutal. This guy is
Yeah.
brutal. This guy he just knows what he's doing.
Yep.
He's kind of Christian Bale because he's always inside of what he's doing.
He's
not,
really great. He's really great in his small role in Wolf of Wall Street too.
My goodness, yeah, because he's
Wall Street?
yeah, he's there.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen it in a while.
Where he plays that guy who meets Jordan Belfort, Leonardo DiCaprio's character in that restaurant, and he talks about how, like, dude, you need to jack off every day because there's so much pressure going through you with crunching all these numbers. I jack off right after I work out every morning. You need to do it, man. Otherwise, you'll just go crazy. And you need to do coke too, because then you can dial those numbers faster. You got to do lots of coke. And then he tells the waiter, okay, I want you to bring us each 2 martinis every 5 minutes. So that starts Jordan Belfort into this mentality of, okay, I've got to fuck a lot and I've got to do tons of drugs.
Sorry. All right, so I think we're all tuckered out with the movies. What have we been reading?
You go first, Polish Christian Bale.
Polish Christian Bale was reading. I just had this feeling I should come online with some French stuff, what those French people are writing. I read a book. I'm just finishing a book by Patrick Modiano. He won a Nobel Literature Prize. It's cute. It's nice. It's ridiculously poetic. It's a story about a guy that that works in a detective agency in Paris in 1955 or 6, something like that. I don't remember exactly. And this little agency is being closed, and his boss asking this little guy, "What are you going to do right now? right now I'm going into the proper investigation. I want to know who I was in my previous life.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's something like post-war, very poetic,
What book is that?
thinking about. Uh, I have a Polish translation, so I
Okay.
don't remember what was the. I will send you the. I will find it and I will send you the proper English
So
name.
it's post-war. What?
Okay. It's
It's
post-World War
post-war,
II?
yeah. Post-war. I mean, post-war, like post-war French trauma.
Okay.
Cool.
War, and it's poetic. It's cool. It's nothing special, but it's cute. Cute is the best word.
Okay.
But the guy won Nobel Prize because of that. Maybe cute books just win Nobel Prize because you don't
Yeah.
have any more Chris Nolans in literature.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when books that win awards, when I read them, I think, why the hell did this win an award? I don't understand.
Hmm.
But what do you think about those Booker prizes? Those recent Booker prizes?
I
Because
don't
I
know.
always.
Tell us about them.
I don't know
I
much
mean,
about them.
but not much about that because I have this feeling that when I see this short list about those Man Booker prizes, there's a lot of wonderful shit, but it's always American. It's like
Oh yeah.
Americans took movies away from humanity, and now they took literature.
Good movie. You
Excuse me?
get movies in the rest of the world.
One more time, because
You mean like how Hollywood is where most movies are made, for example?
no, I'm saying that Hollywood is a place where sensible movies are made.
No, there's
No, I'm not.
Hollywood in Nigeria that makes more movies than Hollywood does.
Really?
Do you watch those movies?
I've seen a couple of them. They're horrendous.
Horrendously wonderful, I assume.
It's like imagine a movie studio hiring me to do the special effects, and that's what that movie is basically. That's what their movies are like.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Because when I ask about this Man Booker Prize, I have this feeling that with literature, it happened a very similar thing. What happened with Hollywood, that there is a model that works, and Americans they always have this firepower. And I'm not saying it's just commercial, it's just money. It's talent. It's also talent that people figured out how to do things properly. And when you read those Man Booker Prize winners, they're fucking awesome. And when you read those French things, they are just different, and you don't know what it is, basically.
Okay.
And what are
It's
you reading
interesting.
it?
Oh, well, I read I read The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner because I wanted to like read a classic. And I thought,
Is that the Baratheon motto?
I don't remember. Is it?
Oh no, Baratheon is ours is the Fury.
Oh yeah. No, it was interesting, but I kind
Wait, before you continue, which house has the best motto?
oh, I don't know. You know, I don't honestly remember all of the mottos off the top of my head.
My favorite motto is the Martell motto.
What's that?
Unbowed, unbent, unbroken.
That is a good one, yeah, for sure.
Cute. Yeah.
What's the Stark one?
Winter is coming.
Yeah.
No, the Stark one is we suck and you will kill us.
Stark is just winter is coming.
Is it?
I was
Yeah,
watching this stuff recently, and how they try to refurbish or whatever it is.
I don't know. I think the
It's so
Lannisters.
cute. It's so cute. Excuse me?
Yeah.
I think Lannisters got the worst motto.
What's that one?
Hear us roar.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's kind of lame.
My second favorite is Baratheon. Ours is the Fury.
Yeah, that one's pretty cool. Yeah.
I thought I thought that Lannister's motto was at least the little one is cool.
Tyrion?
Yeah.
Well, the Lannisters' colloquial motto is Lannisters always pay their debts, but that's not the house model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tyrion Lannister's motto is wine and women.
Yeah. But guys, would you agree that those recent episodes of Game of Thrones they became so much like Tolkien?
Well, they're beyond the books, so yes.
Yeah, so they became something like high fantasy. Just go further and do this stuff, and this is why
Well, it's high fantasy now because the fantasy elements that they were fostering in the beginning are now in your face.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the very two opening things, the White Walkers and the dragons. And now those two things are very prominent now in the show.
Don't give me spoilers. I've still only seen the first 3 seasons of the show, but I've read all the books.
Well, the show's beyond the book now. It's pretty far beyond the book. I won't say any more about that.
I probably will watch the rest of the series now that I can more easily with that secret.
Oh, super secret website. Yeah.
Anyway, though, the Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner, I kind of found it a little boring, but it's interesting that it's like it seems like it's basically from the perspective of like a black 2-year-old kid in like 1930 or something like that, and that was pretty.
A black 2-year-old has a perspective.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's why I think it was so revolutionary for the time it was written, and it was seen that way because it was like that wasn't common back then. And
I can't imagine how a perspective of a 2-year-old might go out negatively.
It's not that realistic because the perspective is very articulate for a 2-year-old.
But that was the point with Faulkner. He was a wonderful guy. I mean, he's a person. I just love this guy.
Yeah.
But going even further, there is a possibility that he was a gay person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably he was. He was gay. Being honest, there are 3 things that commies did right. First of all, they moved people from the villages and they forced them into cities, and that's why people have to fuck somebody who is far away from their genetic pool. It's awesome. The second thing I don't even remember, but the third thing is that commies they printed every single Faulkner book there is.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I have Faulkner's letters in Polish.
Why do the commies like Faulkner?
Because he was wonderful. Because he was a genius.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there is this legend that commies were ridiculously stupid and ugly and things. And they were stupid about every single thing, but they were smart people, being honest. And they printed all of this stuff because Faulkner was fucking genius.
Most people do some things right.
Yeah, exactly. And I have
a vegetarian would argue that even Hitler was a vegetarian.
Exactly, yeah. Okay. You've got me here.
So was Kirsch, Edmund Kirsch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's cute, I have Faulkner's letters to every single person he wrote a letter to in Polish, and I cannot find this stuff in English.
Oh. That's weird.
It's interesting. It's interesting. Maybe one day I'll translate it into English.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. I also was reading the Dead Sea Scrolls Uncovered, which is basically an explanation and interpretation of the Dead Sea Scrolls by some scholars. One who's a scholar of Aramaic, I think, and one who teaches like religious studies or something like that. And I don't know, that one that one wasn't that interesting to me either, because it seems like their translations and interpretations of the Dead Sea Scrolls are really similar to the Bible, mostly the Old Testament, but some parts of the New Testament too. But it's interesting to know like the similarities and differences between the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Bible, and where some of the ideas came from and how they're different.
I think I've read some stuff about the Dead Sea Scrolls, but that was a really long time ago.
I'm more interested to read a book that Joe Rogan mentioned on the Dead Sea Scrolls a long time ago that I still haven't read, called The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross, which is the one agnostic people who originally investigated the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the other people were ordained Catholic priests, and he's the only one who thought that the Dead Sea Scrolls meant that Christianity was founded on fertility cults and psychedelic drug rituals. Yeah. I've also you mentioned Game of Thrones, I told you, Dusty, I've also been reading Fire and Blood, which is basically like a history of the story 300 years up until Game of Thrones, and it's fairly interesting, like not anywhere near as good as the novels, but it does kind of follow a narrative. It goes from like when Aegon the Conqueror through like the mostly Targaryens who controlled the Iron Throne, and it focuses on Jaehaerys the first Targaryen and Alysanne, his wife. And it's interesting because it goes through all these rulers who have dragons and are using dragons. Like it's all this history of rulers using dragons, when during the Game of Thrones stories it's like seen as legend and not true that people had actually had dragons by a lot of people. And it's interesting, like all these power struggles over the throne and stuff like that. And there's one part in particular I remember where it goes, it says that before there were 7 kingdoms, there were 8, then there were 9, then there were 12, then there were 100, then there were 120, and the number of kingdoms fluctuated a lot over hundreds or even thousands of years.
Oh, okay. I read the other one. Doesn't sound as interesting as the one that you're reading.
Yeah, I think that was the one that I read too, and I found that one kind of boring too.
Yeah, I didn't even finish it.
Yeah, it's not that interesting. I think, I'm not sure if I told you already, Dusty, I also read, I just finished last night reading Towers of Midnight, which is I'll use a fancy word here, the penultimate Wheel of Time novel, the 13th out of the 14th, which I thought was really great, just like the last one too, by Brandon Sanderson.
Damn, so you're almost done then.
Yeah, I got one book left.
And then we can finally talk about it.
Yeah, I'll have to watch or listen to at least a few of those podcasts you recommended to me, going through the first book first too, because I'm sure there's like, I probably don't remember most of it by now.
So how many books are of this stuff?
Sorry?
How many books are there about this stuff?
I think there are 14.
15?
15, yeah, 15 including there's a prequel.
Yeah.
How many pages?
They're all like 700 to 1,000 pages each.
Oh my goodness. Can you imagine that there are just some Catholics that never read a Bible?
Yeah, I know, right?
Huh. Cute things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also still trying to finish up Shadow Rising. I'm like 350 pages in. I've been reading more of it than I have been lately. Hopefully, I'll finish that within a week or two. Finished this Buddhism True.
Oh, cool.
It was an okay book.
Wonderful thing. Wonderful
Yeah,
thing.
I love that book.
I think I would have loved it if I'd never read like other psychology books.
Oh, okay.
Because to me, like a lot of the concepts in this book are covered in
Happiness Hypothesis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's mainly a book promoting mindfulness, pretty much. And then this kind of examines the psychology of mindfulness.
Yeah. Dusty, do you know this podcast that Robert Wright does? Basically,
I didn't know I did one.
There's a lot of wonderful things there.
Yeah, his podcast is great.
Basically,
what else?
This podcast is what this guy's about.
Yeah, it's definitely, he talks a lot about his meditation retreats and his discoveries and the analysis, psychological analysis of what meditating and mindfulness actually does, like what it helps with. Kind of talks about Buddhist traditions and like some of the opposing traditions, and it's kind of like a little bit of a history-ish psychology book of basically.
Yeah. But being honest, this guy is just best talking to other people. He's ridiculously awesome. Yeah, Robert Wright is bloggingcats.tv on YouTube.
Yeah, you know, he actually mentioned that in the book that he was talking to somebody on bloggingcats.tv.
He does an episode with Jonathan Haidt too, which is pretty interesting. And bloggingcats.tv, that's the same YouTube channel where Glenn Lowry does his podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I'll have to check that out for sure.
Do it, because this is something like, you know, Joe Rogan is doing for millions of people, but he's doing for 2,000 of people. But he's ridiculous. I mean, everybody who talks with this guy understands that. Okay, so I can be on the top of my game. I don't have. It's not a Turing test with Joe Rogan. I don't have to become a nice person and talk, you know, in plain words. I can be myself.
Oh.
Right. Well, it's very interesting.
Here's a segue. I'm halfway through Origin.
Oh, cool.
And I am enjoying it. There are some funny, interesting things about it that are very relevant to today's discourse, because I guess this is his most recent book. I think Sam Harris pops up in the book.
Yeah, that's funny. He talks about the militant atheists and the Four Horsemen.
Yeah. And then a Turing test with the Winston. I haven't finished the book, but I have my suspicions.
It's a pretty awesome surprise ending.
And I also feel like Kirsch is his name.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like he's like Elon Musk or something. Like, I was thinking that the whole time, and then in the book he actually meets Elon Musk. So I was like, oh, he's not.
It's so big. I thought it was so strange when Edmund Kirsch talks about like at the beginning he says, "Yeah, I just went vegan. It's easier than using the elliptical." I'm like, you're a super fucking smart guy, and you think veganism is better than working out? I think you need to do some more research, bro.
Well, and then you find out why he went vegan, though.
Exactly.
Reason.
And he thinks his veganism will cure his cancer. Like, yeah, bro.
They said that his cancer, like, he outlived his prognosis. So, like, who knows what he did that helped
Well, I
with
always
that.
thought he was taking like a bunch of medications too, right?
Yeah, he was taking a shitload of meds, and then he was gonna die like soon after he got assassinated anyway.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, so that's the reason why he had the thing early. He was gonna die.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's pretty good so far. I think I have maybe 6 or 7 hours left in the audiobook,
Cool.
so I'm probably gonna finish it tonight.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's interesting. There's less code breaking this time around, but that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they really love this artist named Antonio Gaudí. I
Yeah.
went looking up all his architecture, and super weird and interesting looking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like the technological aspect of this. But there's like some funny parts that I'm reading or listening, and then I was like, well, they could have solved that with a simple Google search. It's some of the problems they have can sometimes feel like they can be solved like easier than what path they choose. But it just shows that Robert Langdon isn't really that tech savvy
Yeah.
at all. And then I don't know, when I'm reading this, I'm thinking, man, the AI seems like it could do quite a bit.
Yeah. I know,
So
right?
I'm like, is AI good or is it bad?
Yeah, I don't know. The AI lie. You find out later the AI lies to him
Yeah, it's
to
capable
fulfill
of
its goal.
lying. It could mimic anybody's voice.
Yeah.
It can call people. So it's like, I wonder how much of what's going on has been manipulated by AI. But I'll see. I'm not quite done, but I suspect that may be the case. We'll see. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you'll
what I've
see.
read. And then I've also I rechecked out what's it called? New Jim Crow. I rechecked that out. I didn't
Okay.
finish it before the library wanted to get its dirty mitts on it again, but I got it back, and I shall
Okay.
continue with that.
Cool.
I was thinking maybe next week might talk about Gamer Gate.
Oh yeah. I'm surprised we haven't done that yet.
Well, we could just talk about it next week because I know there's people talking about it, and people still don't know what it is.
Is there something new happening with it?
Well, Gamergate's always blamed for shit, but I think they were trying to create a second Gamergate, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
Okay.
And the second Gamergate had something to do with like Steve Bannon and Sargon of Akkad and some other key figures. I was like, Jesus Christ, shit's
What-
over already, man.
Steve
What
Bannon
role
is hot.
did what role did Steve Bannon play in that?
Bigger role than a lot of people think. It's
Guys, what do you? Okay, my question is, what do you think about Steve Bannon?
What about Steve Bannon?
Yeah,
I
what do
don't
you
really-
think about Steve Bannon?
I hardly know anything
I
about
don't
him.
know.
to be
He's just
honest.
an opportunist.
Okay, there is a Munk debate between Bannon and my favorite Jewish person, probably.
Well, who's your favorite
David
Jewish
Frum.
person?
David Frum. David Frum. I mean,
Oh.
there is a lot. There
Oh,
even
yeah,
too many.
I haven't seen that.
I'll have to check that out. I find From
Yeah, I should watch that.
pretty reasonable. Bannon
Yeah.
so much.
One more time.
The only
Some. You were cut off.
No, I'm just saying I find Bannon not very reasonable. I do find that From is reasonable.
yeah, he seemed reasonable to me
Yeah,
though.
there is a
Now, I would say now he's reasonable. I'd say he's probably not so much in the past, but I think he sees that now the division stuff is probably more dangerous than fighting partisan battles. That's not the case for Bannon. He thrives off of the division.
Yeah.
That's what the whole platform is based off of. So I don't like the Bannon that much.
Yeah, but if you have a little bit of free time, just please see this Monk debate between Bannon and Fromm.
I'll check
It's
that.
fucking, it's fucking ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. I mean, I despise Bannon. Bannon is strictly a Leninist, and
Is he?
theoretically he is a Leninist, and he's such a fucking wonderful son of a bitch that he always says that I am a Leninist.
When did he say that he's a Leninist?
More than once. He's a Leninist. He hates the establishment.
Well, I know he's anti-establishment, but sorry, damn cough. I know he's anti-establishment. He's a populist. All of the above. But his platform thrives on division, and I think he's just an opportunist.
Sounds like Trump.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, his understanding of things is that I need division because with status quo, there's nowhere I can go. I mean, now, now it's like I said that this Fate Goldie, this Lauren Southern girl is hot, and everybody will remember that I am a Lauren Southern fetishist. And now I say that, and now I say that he's a Leninist, and it's a good thing for him. People will remember that, but it's a fact. This guy is ridiculously awesome because he is an ridiculous artist of
Marxist Leninist or capitalist Leninist?
Capitalist Leninist.
What is a capitalist Leninist?
He is a guy that wants to destroy the status quo, and he has some sort of free market thinking behind of him.
Oh, okay.
Like libertarian, I think. He is
okay.
I mean, he is, but he is not. I mean, he's not libertarian anymore because when I was listening to this Monk debate, he is very close to what Jinping is talking about, president of China. It's awesome because he's so ridiculously comprehensive, congruent. It's a word.
You have to check out that debate.
Do it, because it's just so ridiculous. It's
I
much.
just have the most atrocious coughs. It's horrible. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll check out that debate too.
This debate is on YouTube.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll put it on the chat we had before. I'll find it.
I could listen to.
That was the point because that's a very important thing that people. There is a difference between Trump and Bannon, right?
Yeah.
And it's IQ difference because Bannon is ridiculously smart guy.
Well, Bannon reads, so
it's like a super villain.
There's at least that difference.
I don't think Trump even read his own book.
Exactly. I mean, so-called his book, yeah.
The so-called book.
No, but when I'm saying that there is this difference, I mean, I don't see a smart person on Democratic side.
Oh, you mean like Ocasio-Cortez is not going to save the world?
I don't think so. But let's be honest, she's ridiculously hot.
Yep.
I mean, I like what's happening recently with those midterms. You call those?
Oh, she's just like a a stupid version of Bernie.
You know,
She's
my
like a
biggest
stupid further left version of Bernie.
That's a good way to describe her.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I also I think that Bernie is wonderful. I think that Bernie is the cutest human being without a comb.
Without a what?
Without, you know, this thing that you use to make your hair look like something, anything. Comb.
Hairpin?
A comb. Oh,
Oh,
Comb.
comb.
he doesn't comb his
Comb.
hair.
Excuse me, I'm from Poland.
You should just
He's,
go full bald.
I don't think so. You should rock the Einstein do if you want.
Yeah?
When people were making fun of his hair during the campaign. He doesn't his hair. He doesn't comb his
You know,
hair.
the point is that the hair isn't the problem, you know. This
Yeah,
guy-
but Trump does comb his hair. Is that any better? No.
Exactly.
That's too much goddamn attention to his hair.
Okay, so yeah, I've sent this stuff. The Rise of Populism.
Sweet.
Cool.
Watch this
What was
stuff,
the
please.
debate? What is the debate topic?
The Rise of Populism.
Okay.
And the most important thing was that they had no idea what populism basically is, because Bannon was talking about his own agenda and Fram was talking about that Donald Trump is basically an idiot. But being that's a very important thing, because you have two guys from different sides and they have no fucking idea how to even start a debate. It's so fucking cute, because they are awesome, both of those guys. Intellectually, they're on the top of the game. But it's something like, you know what? It's a little bit like watching The Prestige. Two guys going into the abyss, fighting each other and not understanding the bigger picture.
Well, I'll have to check it out. I'm super behind on my IQ squared debates and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
There are too many of those.
Those
There
are
are too many
great
of
debates.
those. There are too many of those.
They're usually pretty good. I like the IQ squared ones.
It's funny when it gets into just lawyers arguing about semantics so they can support their opinions, though.
Exactly. And this one is a little bit different. That's why it's interesting, I think.
But usually when I watch a good one of those intelligence squared debates, I come away thinking, both sides of these arguments have a lot of merit.
Yeah. That's
What's in
usually
it for me?
The bad one is when one side is just completely ludicrous.
Yeah.
And the other isn't. Like, I forgot which one it was. I think it was like the one that Peterson was in, wasn't he? No, he was in the Monk debate. That was different.
Yeah, what was that one? That was the one with him and Stephen Fry, and what were they debating about?
Dyson, there was this Dyson guy.
Something about social justice. I know it was something about social justice.
It was just basically ridiculous, because it was about...
the only one that made sense on stage was Stephen Fry. Like, everybody else was like extremely off topic.
Yeah, Stephen Fry is the best.
But, oh well, I'll have to check out that debate. I'll probably check it out sometime tonight. I know that. As and I'll finish my origin book, and I'll check out the debate.
Yeah, I think I will too.
Do it, sir. Yeah, but please remember to watch this in the climate of a wonderful prestige debate. They're doing the same thing, but okay. So let's ask ourselves, which one is Angier, which one is Christian Bale?
Okay.
Which one was what?
Which one is Hugh Jackman? Which one is Christian Bale?
What do you mean?
Because it's kind of a very similar thing what they're doing there. Being honest.
You mean in the debate? Who's Hugh Jackman and who's Christian Bale?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Hugh Jackman is the one I think will win, and
Yeah.
Christian Bale is someone I think who will lose.
Yeah.
Who do you think is who in the debate, Polish Christian Bale?
I cannot do that because it will contain spoilers.
Oh,
I want you guys to know. I don't want you guys to
Steve
know who is
Bannon
because
is Christian Bale.
that's the coolest thing when you see how it is figured out in the end. Who wins?
Steve Bannon is Christian Bale. Well, if Christian Bale can be,
No way. I mean,
if he
Christian.
can be Dick Cheney, he can also be Steve Bannon. So I think that works pretty well.
Steve Bannon is in jail. Yeah, it's
Well,
cute.
that's what Steve Bannon was like. He was like the Dick Cheney of Trump until he got fired.
It's like a smart Dick Cheney. Smart Dick Cheney, I would say.
Well, Dick
This guy
Cheney
is
was
ridiculous.
dumb.
This guy is ridiculous. I don't get it. I don't get it because I despise this guy, but he's ridiculously smart. Like I've never seen before. I mean, Cheney is cute. Cheney is fucked up.
Cheney shot
He's
a dude in the
ridiculous.
face with a shotgun.
He's a tool.
True.
Excuse me?
Cheney shot a guy in the face with a shotgun. And the
Like
guy
we shall see
apologized.
in
The
the
guy who
next
was shot apologized to Cheney. That's how
Yep.
crazy Cheney is.
Yep.
He shot
As we
a
will
guy in
see.
the face, and the guy who got shot apologized to Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
As we will see in the next Christian Bale
I don't
movie.
believe Steve Bannon has that
Yeah.
type of power.
That
Exactly.
he could shoot someone in
Because
the
he
face
doesn't
and get
need
them
that.
to apologize.
I
No,
don't
he
think
doesn't
so.
have
I
this
think
kind of
I think if Steve Bannon shot someone in the face with a shotgun, they would not apologize to him.
I think that Steve Bannon wouldn't do that. And
He
this
wouldn't
is the
shoot
scariest
No,
thing.
we're trying to compare Cheney and Bannon. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Bannon
and I'm
shot
doing
someone
that.
in the
I'm doing that.
face.
This is the difference. This is the
He would
difference
not get
between
an
Cheney.
apology.
This is the difference between Cheney and Bannon. That Bannon isn't stupid enough to shot somebody in the face. He just wins debates. He just wins debates. It's scary. I mean,
is he not stupid enough, or is he not ballsy enough?
he's fucking 180 IQ.
Seriously?
That's the scariest part. Seriously.
Oh, if that's true, then why did he have failed businesses?
Good question.
Does he?
Yes.
Does he have failed businesses?
Yes, he has
I
failed
mean, people
businesses.
do fail businesses. How many failed businesses did
A
Elon
lot.
Musk?
The only business that worked out for actually none, because Breitbart, he doesn't own Breitbart.
Maybe
just
he's not about
runs it.
business. Maybe he's not about business. Maybe he's not Donald Trump. Maybe he's just doing his stuff.
Maybe the business is his misdirection.
Well, this is before
Exactly.
I've
Exactly. I mean, listen to this guy because I'm spoiling. I'm just overheating this stuff.
I've heard him debate before. I'm just gonna see what the David Frum is all about.
Yeah, because I was ridiculously surprised.
Because I've heard him on Bill Maher's show. He didn't sound extremely. He didn't sound any more intelligent than any other talking point Republican that I've heard.
But Bill Maher made an impression that he did.
Did he?
Because Bill Maher was his best friend.
Best friend? I didn't hear
Sort
anything
of,
about that.
yeah, there were more than one appearances. And in the first one, everybody was just applauding every single thing Bannon was saying. I mean, I hate this guy.
I heard the last one that he went on, and it wasn't. I didn't hear as much applause as you did. And
Yeah,
Bill Maher was not throwing him softballs either.
I mean, Bill Maher is basically throwing always softballs.
No, he doesn't throw. He doesn't throw softballs at Republicans.
He does.
That's true.
He does. I mean,
Did you not listen to the interviews?
He hates Republicans. He's on
but
Team
it doesn't
Liberal.
mean that he's able to throw a hardball. I mean, he's kind of cute. The smart
Throwing
guy.
a softball is like throwing an uncontroversial question. A lot of these Republicans that he has on, he throws controversial questions at them.
Did you guys
I mean,
see when Jordan Peterson was on Bill Maher's show and he was disagreeing with the rest of the entire panel who was
yeah,
talking
I've seen
about how
that.
Trump is evil and shit like that?
I've seen that.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
remember
thought that was interesting.
that. Yeah.
You
Jordan
think what?
Peterson's a rabble rouser.
I'll have to see this David from. I've only heard him speak a couple times. I enjoyed his discussion with Dave Rubin, and I'm not really that big of a Rubin fan.
Yeah.
Did you hear him on Sam Harris's podcast?
No, I have
I think
not.
he's been on there once or twice.
I usually, the only Sam Harris podcast I listen to are speakers that I know. So, Jonathan Haidt, I'll listen to that. Because usually those podcasts, I don't just listen to them for their guests. Like, there's very few podcasts that I'll listen to, even if I don't care about the guests. And I can probably count that on one hand. That'd be
Me too.
Mixed Mental Arts and Joe Rogan. Those are the only two
Yeah.
I'll listen to if I don't like. I'll gravitate to them if they really have a cool guest that I like. But even if it's somebody I've never heard of, I'll listen to it.
Yeah, I'm the same way with only Mixed Mental Arts and Rogan, pretty much.
So those are the only two that I'll pretty much. I listen to most, not all. I listen to all MMA, most of Rogan's, but those are the only two interview shows that I'll listen to for the hosts.
Yeah, because
So, like,
Rogan
the
is the
host
fucking
opinion.
best podcast host of all time.
Yeah.
Cutest, yeah.
Because I think being a good host is important, and they're very good hosts on those two
Yep.
podcasts, Mixed Mental Arts and Rogan.
Obviously, Hunter and the Emperor are the best too.
Exactly.
And the Emperor. And I think we just had a release of an episode not too long ago, so check that out.
Oh, really?
As well.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's about mindfulness, so you probably like that kind of stuff.
Cool.
But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. Do you got any plugs? Polak Bale.
Not right now, but I think that with the start of a new year, I'll figure something out that I could just push here with you guys. Maybe next time even.
All right, well that's fine. Maybe we'll get your twin next time.
Yeah.
We should just call you Polak Borden.
Polak
And
Borden.
You can have Polak Fallon on next week.
Are you Borden or Fallon right now, Polish Christian Bale?
I'm always Fallon.
Oh, you're always Fallon. Okay.
Exactly.
You're the evil
So
one.
you do like Scarlett Johansson more than you said you did then.
And the other options.
So you didn't like Julia. Okay, I get it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
it's not for
drove
me.
her to
It's not for me.
suicide. I get it. Yeah.
Not for me. Yeah, I mean the suicide thing was didn't work for me.
No?
All right.
Didn't work for me. Yeah, but we are past this stuff right now.
All right, Polak Bale Doman. And Andrew, do you have some plugs?
Yeah. If people want to, they can check out my YouTube channel, which is Mindgasms, and I make lots of videos. Like I made one, and I'm working on the second one, and I'm probably going to do at least one more on History of Sexuality Part 1, which we talked about last week. And I read chapters of my novel that I've been writing on there, and I do podcasts with lots of people. Like I've talked with Dusty and lots of other interesting people, and got more stuff planned for that a lot. And then also people can check out my my blog if they want to, which is at mindgasms.theblogpress.com, where I write blogs about ideas. I just released my new one about how religion is not required for morality, and I release my novel chapters on there too, and all sorts, and sometimes short stories and poems. And people can, if they want to, check out my Patreon too at Mindgasms and give me money, because that would be awesome. And then I'm also on the social medias, the Facebooky Booha and the Twitter at Andrew Meitzer. My name is the weird German spelling, Meintzer. And that's it.
It's a great level. Don't stop doing that.
Have you started
it's not
working
strange
on?
German. It's a great level.
Well, yeah.
I was going to say, have you started working on your mind jisms?
No, not yet. I haven't decided what idea I'm going to write about yet.
But you are going to create a mind jism.
Yeah, I think so. It sounds like a good idea.
All right. That sounds great. All right. Well, I want to thank all the patrons first and foremost. Thank you for not abandoning the platform, although I do know why you would, and I understand that. And thank you for those who stuck around. We very much do depend on your patronage. Thank you. We do have another podcast episode that will be released sometime in the future. I will let you know when that will happen. And please like and subscribe to the video. Share it with people. Tell people how awesome the movie The Prestige is.
Yeah.
And tell everybody that The Prestige is your favorite Christian Bale movie. Because it is. It will be once you watch this movie. But if you have listened to this video, I hope you have watched the movie first, because there's a shitload of spoilers.
Yeah.
So if you haven't watched this, it's already too late. You've watched it now, and we fucked things up for you. Sorry.
Still an
I
awesome
already told you in the beginning that we were talking about some spoilers, so and it's your fault now, not mine.
It's still an awesome movie, like, no matter how many times you watch it, though.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, or half a dozen, as Andrew has done. But yeah, check out the movie. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. And have a great evening.
Adios, everyone.
Good night. Good night.